Chapter 314 Dragons Collide. Chapter 314 Dragons Collide. Elite Coder. People watched the Earth National Elemental Stone engrossed, be it from fear or shock. Some were too stunned to even react. Zhuo Fan had braved against 1,000 men alone and killed them by the score like a true demon god. It was long past the point where the house's elders could stay calm. Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Long Jiao was the most affected. Zhuo Fan's murder weapon was none other than the purple lightning from his eye, though the difference couldn't be bigger. Zhuo Fan's purple lightning was so strong, he used it as armor, and all he had to do was run into the enemy unchallenged. The enemy had no choice but to flee. Unable to cope with such destructive force, the lofty figure, filled with zeal in his indiscriminate killing, made the viewers secretly cry out in excitement. One particular crazed, martial fanatic felt the opposite. Xie Tianshang had long been shuddering with fervor and fighting spirit. Whoosh! A light announced Chu Qingqing's return, her face filled with grief. Grandmother rushed to her side in worry. "Qingqing, what's wrong?" "Nothing." Chu Qingqing shook her head. "How is he?" Grandmother sighed and turned to the veil. "See for yourself." Chu Qingqing caught Zhuo Fan's howl as he tore into the 10,000-man army. His face was malevolent among the flying limbs, a picture only achieving completion with the symphony manifested by the agonized victims. The bloodshot eyes seemed to write off anyone they landed on. Gone from this world, the first thing that came to mind was a death god unleashed upon this world to spread suffering and pain. Chu Qingqing's heart was twisted up from pain, biting her lip in fear of crying out. Even as tears fell from her eyes, she knew very well that the crazed Zhuo Fan was in incredible pain and grief. "Look, Huangpu Qingtian is joining!" At the nameless cry, everyone turned to the imposing and mighty figure charging with relentless force toward Zhuo Fan. There was not a single person out there who didn't recognize the conceited, heaven-shaking Dragon Lord. This lifted the moods of everyone at the prospect. The two strongest geniuses of Tianyu were duking it out. Who was going to win? Who was going to be the #1 clan in this time's esoteric debate? It would soon be made apparent. As dragons collided, the rules were very clear, though. The first to return to Dragon Cloud City was crowned champion. Though everyone knew, the returnees even more so, that it was merely an escape. Cowardice, the title of #1 clan of Tianyu, rested on the shoulders of these two dragons. Gulping, every single person was watching the most anticipated battle of the century with hearts in their throat. Xie Tianshang was holding the sword hilt so tight that his hand turned white. His eyes were sparkling, while his excitement shot through the roof. Those two were the objectives he wanted to desperately surpass. But who was the best and strongest of their generation hanged far more heavily on his mind. This battle would settle who was to be his true goal. Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan went nuts in killing anything that moved, going so far under in his bloodlust that he lost focus of his surroundings. It was then that the shout coming from behind pierced his ears. Turning around, he saw Huangpu Qingtian charging and shouted, "Huangpu Qingtian, you will pay with your life!" Zhuo Fan moved away from those ants and rushed towards Huangpu Qingtian. The purple lightning withdrew into his fist just as he struck. Huangpu Qingtian roared as well, shining golden and surrounded by 9 golden dragons as he met the punch. Imperial Tyrant Body Art! Bam! The staggering power of the punches smashed together. A golden light erupted and purple lightning exploded. As the earth caved and sky trembled, Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingtian's fists were now in a deadlock. But the power only grew stronger, roaming along their arms and aiming to settle the stalemate. Huangpu Qingtian and Zhuo Fan glared at each other, with neither backing out an inch. But the sudden explosion flung both of them backwards. For 5 feet, the tremendous pressure swept the battlefield. The rampant golden glow along with the berserk purple lightning tore into any poor devil that crossed its path. The fallout alone robbed the lives of 2,000 hapless souls, reduced to mangled flesh, and adding to this, Hell's Cape gasping. The survivors fled as fast as they could. It went beyond what their feeble minds could possibly comprehend. Just the shock wave reaped through them like death. Not even profound heaven experts were spared from such a cruel fate. They had finally come to realize on their own skin what a gulf in power truly meant. The profound heaven experts knew the two of them could kill them with just their thumb. How could heaven allow for such monsters to exist? It went against the natural order. The ones receiving the full brunt of the shock were in fact 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. They were aware of how the 2 were leagues above them. But nobody had imagined it would be such a steep cliff separating them. They had a feeling that not even in the radiant stage would they be the 2's match. Xia Tianshang clenched his fists in frustration, but sighed in the end. Just how am I to surpass these monsters? For the first time ever, this martial fanatic actually complained about one's strength. Huangpu Qingtian and Zhuo Fan's display left him utterly powerless. A standoff. While the rest were awed by the power display, only Jade, Flute, Divine, Sword Feng Qiubai's eyes squinted. They even contained a glint of amazement while looking at Zhuo Fan, the Emperor's intent for Zhuo Fan to harass Huangpu Qingtian came from his counsel. He had gone to great lengths in informing Zhuo Fan of every aspect of Huangpu Qingtian's traits, that a head-on clash was ill-advised and he had to lean on tactics to get the upper hand nonetheless. It did not lower the danger Zhuo Fan had faced in this mission, yet at the end of it all, the kid took merely 5 years to reach the level of monstrosity Huangpu Qingtian turned out to be, something he had failed to foresee. He could go as far as to say Zhuo Fan was the truest monster of the 2. Just 5 years ago, Zhuo Fan barely defeated Huangpu Qingtian's younger brother, who was far weaker. And here, he was now the other brother's equal. It was just too hard to wrap his head around how insane it was. What blew his mind, however, was the 2 monsters' 1 stage gap in cultivation, so the 2 may be equal right now. But Zhuo Fan's potential was inhumanly above Huangpu Qingtian's. It was hard to fathom what the future held for the man. In 5 years, no. Just 3 years. Zhuo Fan may very well be able to wipe the floor with Huangpu Qingtian. Such prospects were so ridiculous. Even Feng Qiubai had to do a double take. It's all so obvious now why the kid was so carefree when accepting this mission. He is confident of victory as long as he comes out alive from this battle. He will grow into the number 1 overlord of Tianyu. Not even regent estates, 1,000-year-old legacy, will be of use then. Ha ha ha. Feng Qiubai sighed. Leng Wuchang and Huangpu Tianyuan had reached the same dreaded conclusion. Zhuo Fan had now risen to the level of biggest threat on their list. He must be stopped at all costs. The kid can already cause upheavals, throwing the 7 houses into turmoil. If allowed to grow for even a second more, no matter how much power the 7 houses bring out, it wouldn't be worth a damn. Huangpu Qingtian stopped his skidding, looking at Zhuo Fan in astonishment. He couldn't believe what just happened. One of his peers actually had the power to fight him. Zhuo Fan had so far been a thorn in his side through his cunning and sinister arts, but this clash proved they were equals. A truth he wasn't ready to accept. The majestic and royal regent estate's eldest young master, who had been uncontested all his life, had now found his nemesis, perhaps the one to rob him of his birthright to rule. A deep sense of danger had taken root into his heart. Something that had never happened before. It only worked to fuel his thirst for murder as he roared, "Zhuo Fan, today you must die! Huangpu Qingtian, pay with your life!" Zhuo Fan roared back. The lightning crackled as he charged, and Huangpu Qingtian did the same boom. The sky exploded in lightning as the earth was scorched. The 2 forces of nature in the shape of body cultivators clashed blow by blow, tearing the world asunder and spreading death. The fallout of every clash was like a bomb, which caught the hapless fools from the vassal clans, reaping their lives in the most agonizing way possible. Oi, you too. We aren't collateral damage here, you know. You both have a strong arm to take the punishment, but we are normal people. Show some compassion, will you? And leave us out of it. The 2 were too far gone. Zhuo Fan consumed by vengeance, and Huangpu Qingtian consumed by having his status under real threat. They had no time to mind the petty ants, constantly clashing and constantly moving. 200 blows later, the two had no scratch on them. Though one couldn't say the same about the unfortunate souls surrounding them, what was supposed to be an ambush was now culled by the aftermath of these monsters. The number of casualties tallied to 5,000 at the least. It was a total tragedy. Genocide Yu Yushan's group of 3 was shaking in their boots and sweating like pigs. They looked into each other's eyes. Should we leave? If anyone else heard them, they'd be floored. What the hell, man? If even the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix are scared of the 2's fallout, what about us? Are we supposed to sit here and die? As the 2's fight escalated, it had put the lives of even these 3 in danger. The decision was made for them, as the frail balance between the 2 monsters had slowly tipped Huangpu Qingtian's golden dragon claw grabbed at Zhuo Fan's throat. The power behind it made Zhuo Fan flinch and lean away. Huangpu Qingtian snickered. His attack changed as he struck down. Zhuo Fan felt an immense pressure bearing him a meter into the ground. He die! With a sinister and gleeful grin, Huangpu Qingtian's claw shot for his throat. 9 dragons diamond body dragon empowered claw. Chapter 315 Seal. Chapter 315 Seal Rip. The space itself cracked as the golden dragon claw pierced at Zhuo Fan. The sharp gale cut at one's face squinting. Zhuo Fan was shocked inside. The feeling of this power told him that this martial art was at the limit of surpassing profound rank level, and entering the earth level. The consequences would be dire if it struck the audience beyond the national elemental stone were equally shocked. Huangpu Qingtian's arsenal wasn't limited to just the imperial tyrant body art. Xie Tianshang and his allies were the only ones who recognized that claw Huangpu Qingtian had used the same claw on them once before, but that time paled compared to the one he showed today. Yet even that weak claw was enough to force them into submission. Witnessing Huangpu Qingtian going all out, it dawned on them what a deadly move it was, that it could crush mountains. Feng Choubai watched it all with a critical eye. 9 dragons diamond body? I never thought I'd see this earth-ranked cultivation method appear again. What? Sir Feng, did you say earth-ranked? Gasping, the rest couldn't believe their ears. Grandmother cried out, "Is this the fabled imperial families?" Feng Choubai nodded. It is precisely the earth-ranked cultivation method the imperial family used at the time they founded Tianyu. 9 dragons diamond body. With the cultivation method being so brutal, the pinnacle of body cultivation, one needed remarkable talent coupled with a staunch body, lest they would die a gruesome death. At the founding of the empire, the imperial family could only train in the first stage, but even that proved to be too much for some. The dragon power ran rampant throughout their body, bursting their vessels and ultimately their bodies. I would have never guessed Huangpu would attain great ancestors' power, more so as Feng Choubai squinted at Regent Estate. His training of the first stage is sublime and is very likely to go beyond it. Eyes turned to Regent Estate with horror. It was bad enough that Regent Estate was the strongest of the houses, but now their future estate lord had the talent to wield an earth-ranked cultivation method. Who was there left to face them? Regent Estate was clear on this, sticking out their heads in pride, as if to say, "Now you know our power. Be good and wait. See how we deal with anyone who opposes us." Grandmother and her 2 allies' mood sank. There was always a gap in the 7 houses' power, but that would usually be bridged with their inherited profound ranked martial art. That gave them a fighting chance, yet with Regent Estate using an earth-ranked martial art, they had left the other houses far behind, a level they could never reach. The 3 houses began to lament about their future. Was it perhaps a mistake pitting ourselves against the Regent Estate? Even their greatest hope of this generation, Zhuo Fan, was about to be culled. He only knew profound, ranked martial arts. His talent was great, but how was he to rise up to Huangpu Qingtian wielding an earth-ranked martial art? They turned to the national elemental stone with a shake of their heads, assured that the worst outcome was nigh. Only Chu Qingqing and Luo Yunchang begged to differ. In fact, they weren't thinking at all. Their minds and hearts were filled with worry for Zhuo Fan, trapped there all alone and waiting for Huangpu Qingtian to strike. Die, Zhuo Fan! Huangpu Qingtian cackled. Victory was at hand. Zhuo Fan couldn't budge, but his eyes flashed golden. The one to die is you! Divine Eye of the Void's first stage shift. Zhuo Fan vanished into thin air. Huangpu Qingtian's claw gouged 1,000-meter deep hole into the ground, eyes trembling. Huangpu Qingtian wailed. He was about to get up when a relentless force smashed into him. A purple lightning empowered fist rammed into his back. The rampant purple lightning rained havoc to his insides, tearing at his heart. No matter how tough Huangpu Qingtian was, he was not invincible. He spat crimson blood and was sent barreling into the hole he had just made, deepening it by another 1,000 meters. Such a radical change happened too fast for anyone to comprehend or react. None saw how Zhuo Fan had dodged. Only registering how his fist buried Huangpu Qingtian, they were dumbstruck, minds blown. Few knew about Zhuo Fan's new abilities, with only the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, having seen him using it. But now everyone had gotten a taste of what he was capable of, and all they could do was stare bug-eyed. Fong Qiubai shivered, blinking in confusion. Not even this guy, peak radiant stage expert and glorious divine dragon of Tianyu, had any clue about how Zhuo Fan had pulled it off. What just happened? Is there a martial art in this world that I don't know of? I know all that came from Tianyu, so how? Fong Qiubai shook his head in the end, praising the kid to new levels. He always liked taking people by surprise. Grandmother and Long Yifei's eyes lit up. Under the imminent threat of Huangpu Qingtian's earth-ranked martial art, Zhuo Fan escaped unscathed and even retaliated. Their hopes of winning against Regent Estate were rekindled. The kid doesn't disappoint, ha ha ha. The trio laughed to themselves. Huangpu Tianyuan watched it all with a thin smile. He spoke calmly to Lung Wuchang, but every elder heard it too. Qingtian is no match for the little monster. We can only depend on Sir Lung's plans if we are to ever defeat him. Worry not, estate lord. Everything is going according to plan. Knowing the man aimed to curb the elder's view of the eldest young master, Lung Wuchang merely nodded. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled and enjoyed the show from the cloud of dust hovering above the hole. Huangpu Qingtian burst out, quite a sorry sight. He wasn't able to get his footing straight, though, as a sharp wind approached from behind, Huangpu Qingtian flashed around, face to face with Zhuo Fan's bloodshot eyes. The sharp lightning wings traced his face, leaving a bloody gash. Huangpu Qingtian's heart was wrecked with fear. His body shaking. That was too close. Thanks to his quick reaction, he had kept his head from being impaled. It was his first time being in actual mortal danger, as he grew increasingly cautious. Zhuo Fan's bloodthirst only rose. Zhuo Fan was the only one to pose a threat to his life. Huangpu Qingtian grabbed the outstretched wing and punched Zhuo Fan with the other hand. The blow shot forth with such might it aimed to explode his head. Zhuo Fan wasn't worried, using the golden halo in his eye to whisk away right before it touched him. Huangpu Qingtian once again found himself getting struck from behind. Zhuo Fan used his wing to whip the man's back and leave a nasty gash. Purple lightning singed through the skin and forced another cough of blood out of him. Zhuo Fan pressed his advantage, following with more blows. Huangpu Qingtian tried to put up resistance, but he couldn't muster the strength. Zhuo Fan was an enigma. He couldn't get a read on his next action, and was caught by surprise each time the scene turned odd, to say the least. Zhuo Fan hounded Huangpu Qingtian like a ghost, whipping him from every direction. Every strike left bloody wounds on Huangpu Qingtian's body, while he was coughing blood. Yet not once could he fight back. It was more along the lines of him wanting to. But being unable to find his target, the man moved around like a ghost. Covering his tracks, Huangpu Qingtian found himself in his most humiliating moment. as if he was Zhuo Fan's punching bag and received all the man's lashing. Fated to take it all, but could never lash out himself. The audience was speechless. How come the head of the 6 dragons was reduced to being flogged? By contrast, Zhuo Fan was having the time of his life. Consumed by the thrill of revenge, Huangpu Qingtian had had enough at this point and roared, "What the hell are you guys gawking at? Activate the array." "But eldest young master, didn't you say we should wait?" Yu Yushan mumbled. Huangpu Qingtian barked at him. "I can't wait any longer. Do it." Yu Yushan saw the eldest young master had lost his poise and grace. He knew time was of the essence, and signaled the men in the forest the battlefield was then shrouded in a barrier. Zhuo Fan was just about to change places again when he was frozen stiff, unable to control space anymore. A sealed space. Zhuo Fan frowned and snorted inside. He finally understood what unwanted contriver had cooked up. The mastermind saw even through his divine eye of the void. Chapter 316, Limit Release. Chapter 316, Limit Release. Elite Coder. It's too soon to use it. Lung Wuchang sighed. As far as I know, the kid is quite an expert in arrays. The longer the sealed space's activation is put off, the better, as it would catch him off guard. But Qingtian can't hold on till then. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled. Sir Lung, does the punk have any chance of coming out of the array now that it's activated? Lung Wuchang shook his head. Even as an array grandmaster, his odds are slim at best. It's fine then. You're just worried that with enough time he'd see through the array. Since his chances are mostly non-existent, what's there to be afraid of? Huangpu Tianyuan said no. When I move, I make sure to rob even the most minute chance of victory from my enemy. It goes double for increasingly dangerous opponents. Lung Wuchang's eyes held a savage glint. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed mirthless. A clash between schemers is far crueler than any cultivator's fight. Microcosmic Orbit Array. Zhuo Fan noticed the 365 profound heaven experts around him, holding their hands in prayer, and sitting down where the core of the array was. This was the 6th grade sealing array, Microcosmic Orbit Array. Its only function was to seal off space. Set up according to the heavenly directions, a miniature world was formed. Trapping anyone within entering it, one would find himself in another world. The only way to escape was by employing dominating might to crush the heaven and earth of this miniature world. Anything less, and it could keep even a radiant stage expert sealed inside for as long as the controller wished. No matter how much the victim raved with space sealed up, Zhuo Fan's shift was under lock and key. It was the first time since the start of his battle with Huangpu Qingtian that he felt danger. This battle was now inevitable, and only one outcome was viable, winning or dying. All other choices were now moot. Huangpu Qingtian. Zhuo Fan's malice was directed at the snickering man. His fists clenched and purple lightning flashed as he charged. Huangpu Qingtian did the same, confident now that his plan was successful in sealing shift. His eyes glinted sinisterly. Meeting his enemy head on, the two were at a stalemate again. But Huangpu Qingtian felt at ease. The earlier lashing had been miserable, robbing him of any chance to fight back. But now that he could display his overbearing might, he was filled with utter joy. The two clashed for 200 more rounds, with Huangpu Qingtian becoming increasingly bolder, and Zhuo Fan, finding himself strain the audience, was stunned. Weren't they equals? Why is Huangpu Qingtian holding out strong after all this time, yet Zhuo Fan looks to be reaching his limit? Was Huangpu Qingtian holding back from the start? Worry wormed into their hearts. Xie Tianshang sighed. Huangpu Qingtian is dreadful to hold back even against Zhuo Fan. But then a laughter resounded. Ha ha ha, he hadn't. Zhuo Fan is the one who used too much stamina and had long surpassed his limit. All eyes turned to Feng Qiubai. Don't you see? The purple lightning has dimmed and his body is starting to give. He must have been relying on the purple lightning to raise his power when clashing with Huangpu Qingtian. But the toll exceeds the limit his body can bear. That strange art of his allowed him to fight back, but now that it is sealed by that array, he is on the ropes. He may seem to be meeting Huangpu Qingtian at every blow, but he's spent. The outcome is a foregone conclusion by now. Fang Choubai sighed in regret, being pointed out. The others looked closer and noticed how Zhuo Fan was growing frantic. Wounds riddled his body, and his blood was being added to the soaked mud. He couldn't take much more punishment or his body would break, while Huangpu Qingtian was getting more and more savage. His power was unbreakable. Soaring demonic dragon has no chance against heaven-shaking dragon lord. This is providence. Everyone shook their heads, yet the one on the receiving end didn't seem to care. Zhuo Fan still met Huangpu Qingtian head-on, driven by the thought of killing his enemy, even at the cost of his own life. His effort had earned him the audience's respect. It looked like a typical case of fighting against impossible odds. But everyone took it as the eulogy of a tragic hero. Regent Estate snickered at Zhuo Fan's plight. Xie Tianshang held his sword, filled with battle lust. He was itching to fight alongside Zhuo Fan. Chu Qingqing and Luo Yinchang had been crying all this time, their hearts gripped by pain. Zhuo Fan's mind is drowned in thoughts of revenge, fighting savagely with total disregard for his own safety. After another 100 clashes, the lightning scattered from Zhuo Fan's body. Huangpu Qingtian availed himself of the enemy's rare moment of weakness and let out a dragon roar as he smashed an empowered fist into Zhuo Fan's face. Imperial tyrant body art! Boom! After an ear-splitting explosion, Zhuo Fan was knocked into the ground for the first time. He spat blood as the earth splintered over 1,000 meters. Yu Yushan's side was bewildered. Zhuo Fan had taken those punches before, but this time he actually spat blood, like he had suffered a major wound. Why now and not earlier? Huangpu Qingtian was the only one who understood, stepping on the powerless Zhuo Fan's chest as he mocked. Humph! Prick! Where's all your power gone to now? Don't you have a bag full of tricks? What's wrong? Take them out. You think I couldn't tell that the purple lightning was giving you power while eating you from the inside? You did this to yourself, not me. You never were my match. Huangpu Qingtian pressed harder, and Zhuo Fan spat blood and gore. Yet no sound escaped his clenched teeth. Luo Yinchang and the women cried in pain, while the rest sighed how the soaring demonic dragon was on his deathbed. With his cunning, Huangpu Qingtian would never be his match in a one-on-one fight based on how many tricks. He had a darn shame he lost his mind and now had fallen for Huangpu Qingtian's ploy. Zhuo Fan needed but days, and he'd surpass Huangpu Qingtian many times over. But that ship had sailed, and so too would his life. Huangpu Qingtian squinted at Zhuo Fan's puny attempts, deriding him. A pity, really. With your talent, if you had fought for any longer, the true king might have been another. But you moron, lost yourself over a dumb girl. This proves that you are unfit to be king. The only true king in this world is me, Huangpu Qingtian. He punctuated with a stomp on Zhuo Fan's head as he roared his victory speech. Since you are so consumed by love, I'll send you off to join that dumb girl. You wanted revenge? Humph, you won't have it even in your next life. For that wretched girl's death to drag you down like this made killing her all the more sweeter. Ha ha ha. Who? Huangpu Qingtian's cackle jarred the ears of everyone. He raised his leg, ready to burst Zhuo Fan's head, as people's hearts seized and they looked down. The women's tears ran in streams, but then a flicker of lightning stopped Huangpu Qingtian's raised leg. Huangpu Qingtian was in shock, finding his leg gripped in an iron vise, with purple lightning streaking over it stronger than ever heart seized. Huangpu Qingtian realized that he couldn't stomp no matter how much he tried. Huangpu Qingtian, you will never kill me. The grim and eerie voice sounded like it came from hell. Under Huangpu Qingtian's shock, the grip flung him into the air. He couldn't do anything to fight it. When he picked himself up, what he saw froze him. How does he still have so much power? Huangpu Qingtian watched the dazzling lighting and gulped. The others were dumbstruck in the middle of the lightning storm. Zhuo Fan rose to his feet, his eyes bursting with bloodlust. Although soaked in blood himself and riddled with wounds, the boundless might exploding from him hammered into the hearts of all onlookers. Huangpu Qingtian turned grave. Just how much power is this punk hiding? Zhuo Fan's eyes were dead cold. Uncaring of all the wounds all over his body, his hatred for Huangpu Qingtian was on full display. It was so thick that even the audience beyond the national elemental stone could feel the chill in their bones. Huangpu Qingtian, I will send you to hell, even if I have to drag you down with me. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth, his face twisted. Divine Eye of the Void, limit, release. An even stronger purple lightning burst from his body. Zhuo Fan had unleashed all the purple lightning he absorbed back in Lightning Canyon. Chapter 317, Bashing of a Regent. Chapter 317, Bashing of a Regent. Elite Coder, roar. A wail of anger, mixed with pain, reached the clouds. Zhuo Fan's power exploded, purple lighting gushing out of him like a flood. His madness increased as well. The overpowering might left others gasping and shivering in fear. Huangpu Qingtian recoiled as well. Fear obvious in his eyes, he had never seen one man capable of unleashing such a raw display of power until now. What was even more astounding was that the said man didn't blow up from the strain. The viewers beyond the national elemental stone weren't there to feel it. But the sight was shocking enough. Feng Qiubai squinted. The kid was hiding such a move. But can he take it? The blood on Zhuo Fan's body only grew thicker. Just like a dead tree, he was pushing towards collapse. Feng Qiubai frowned, worried. Chu Qingqing and the other women's hearts went to the man suffering. Their tears flowed for him. It was obvious that Zhuo Fan's trump card was a life for a life. Zhuo Fan from before would have never resorted to such desperate means unless it was a matter of life and death. But now, for the sake of killing Huangpu Qingtian, for revenge, he threw it all away. Ah! With a cry of pain, Zhuo Fan's surging power had reached a plateau. Purple lightning bathed his body. His wings turned purple as well. They crackled with lightning. Releasing waves of power, Zhuo Fan panted. His body bloodied from head to toe. The bones of his legs were visible as the tyrannical might of the purple lightning ate through his flesh. The pain was excruciating, but his eyes only grew more sinister. Huangpu Qingtian's heart ceased looking at the purple lightning show, but he still found in him one last mockery. Zhuo Fan, I was wondering what great and all-powerful ace had you been keeping all this time, only to find out it is a dumb, crippling move to gain the power to beat me. Your body is so wrecked you can barely stand. You may have obtained the power now, but it's still not enough. Whoosh! The lighting storm flashed in his face in the form of a palm. It flung him 1,000 meters away with a bang, burying him deep into a cliff. As it collapsed over him, Zhuo Fan now took his earlier place, arm outstretched and a cold glint in his eyes. Be it the survivors or the viewers, everyone gasped. They knew Zhuo Fan had the power, but the sheer speed with which he moved was mind-boggling. Not even that monster, Huangpu Qingtian, could see him coming rumble. Huangpu Qingtian pulled himself out of the debris with a bloody nose. He didn't have the time to care, finding it more important to stare at the cold figure in shock. What was that was too fast? And what was that power? The punk is clearly on his last leg, so why does he have so much power? He's even stronger than when the battle started. For the first time ever, Huangpu Qingtian's heart was in fear's grip. Huangpu Qingtian shook it away. He was undefeated, conceited into thinking he was heaven's walking gift on earth, its rightful king. How could such a lofty being ever know fear? Gnashing his teeth and forcing himself to remain calm, Huangpu Qingtian's eyes regained their battle spirit as he looked ahead, only to find no one there. Huangpu Qingtian had yet to make sense of it as a shocking force slammed into his back. A purple lightning out of the blue boom. The ground caved in for miles on end. Huangpu Qingtian was in the middle, coughing up blood and getting the shock of his life. When did he get behind me? He turned his stiff head back, only to meet Zhuo Fan's icy stare and the purple lightning infused fist into his back. Humiliation. Being bashed around twice now, without the slightest chance at retaliation, was a clear and naked insult to Huangpu Qingtian. The shame only grew when he realized he was actually the weaker of the two. This was his complete and utter defeat in his 20-plus years alive. Huangpu Qingtian had never ever thought it was conceivable. It went without saying, but he was in denial now. Huangpu Qingtian's veins popped, anger overriding his heart, and the bloodthirst in his eyes grew. Zhuo Fan must die. Roaring his frustration, Huangpu Qingtian bore through the pain and slapped the ground to whip around and break free from Zhuo Fan's fist, pushing down on him to get some altitude. He then clawed at Zhuo Fan's face. 9 Dragons diamond-bodied dragon empowered claw. Rip. Huangpu Qingtian's mighty claw made eerie sounds as if it tore into space itself. Nothing could stand in its way even before it landed. The ground caved 100 meters. Zhuo Fan merely stood there, taking the pressure like it was nothing. Yushan's group had been worried for Huangpu Qingtian, but they now cheered. It's the Earth-ranked martial art, 9 Dragons diamond body. Ha ha ha, the punk is dead for sure. Yushan laughed. Yan Bongi's face split into a grin. If not for that fancy art he used before, the punk would have been dead for ages. Now he's trapped in an array and won't escape, no matter what trick he pulls. The rest of the survivors nodded thrilled. They could practically see Zhuo Fan's head rolling. The dragon's clash was about to reach its end, and everyone was excited to see it happen. Chu Qingqing was more worried than ever. Huangpu Qingtian's Earth-ranked martial art wasn't something one could just take head-on. Zhuo Fan had bolstered his power, but in his wounded state, she feared he wouldn't be able to take it. Everyone watched nerve-wrecked for Zhuo Fan's fate to end. Ha ha ha! Dayu Prat! Huangpu Qingtian cackled, his claw landing on Zhuo Fan's had the hearts of everyone stopped for a second. Only Zhuo Fan stood calm, unaffected by the pressure. But when the claw was on top of him, his fist tightened, purple lightning gathered, and struck bam. The fist and claw met, releasing a terrible sound, but just as they touched, Huangpu Qingtian's claw was flung away. Zhuo Fan's purple lightning-powered fist astonishingly smashed the man's face. Huangpu Qingtian was flung into the sky, blood trailing behind him from his nose. Zhuo Fan was still calmly standing in the same spot. His fist held high, the yapping around instantly grew to a halt, and the people looked at the imposing figure in fear. Dude, that's an Earth-ranked martial art, you know? Personally delivered by heaven-shaking Dragon Lord. Aren't you perhaps just a little bit condescending, flicking it away with a meager fist? Everyone gulped, unnerved. They wrote Zhuo Fan off at first, thinking the Earth-ranked martial art had rooted him in place. But now they knew he was looking down on it, too strong. Xia Tianyang's blood was boiling with excitement. Seeing the 2 dragons fight, my life was worth it. Tuning out the senseless chatter, Zhuo Fan looked at the man he had sent flying, hovering in the air. His eyes glinted, and he jumped in, but an instant he was upon Huangpu Qingtian. Huangpu Qingtian was startled. He didn't get to feel the extent of his wounds, as Zhuo Fan came with a kick in the gut. The blow was so fierce and brutal that even if he wasn't heavily injured before, he was now puking his guts and blood from the pain. Whoosh! A flash of light smashed towards Yushan, and the other 2, the trio, was taken in by Zhuo Fan's ridiculous power display. But seeing Huangpu Qingtian come crashing down, they panicked. Take cover! Every man for himself. Nobody wanted to get anywhere near this battle, not that they had the time boom. Huangpu Qingtian slammed into the ground, picking up dust and releasing a devastating shockwave. It blew apart 400 hapless people, too slow to get away. The ground was now littered with pieces of them. Yushan's trio watched from the air and gulped in fear. Why did they get the feeling that this plan to do Zhuo Fan in was in fact digging their own graves? Forget about that fiend, look at us. Our side is about to collapse. Even their strongest, heaven-shaking Dragon Lord was getting his ass handed to him, looking into the distance. Zhuo Fan's cold and aloof image was that of a thunder god. Yu Yushan's trio's courage faltered. Damn it all to hell! How do you beat that? Chapter 318, Dragon Vein Soul. Chapter 318, Dragon Vein Soul. Elite Coder. Who? The fierce wind picked up the dust and blocked everyone's sight. When it settled, they witnessed a bloodbath. Dismembered bodies and mangled limbs. The 4 houses' vassals participating in this ambush numbered 10,000. Yet now less than a tenth remained even then. The lucky survivors were traumatized, running all over the place in fear, trying anything as long as it got them away from this hell. A shame there was no way out, not unless the 365 profound heaven experts opened the microcosmic orbit array with a bang. Huangpu Qingtian jumped out of the rubble, face bloody and enraged. Zhuo Fan was so heavy-handed that he had caved in the man's nose. People all around sighed. They had never seen the Grand Regent Estate's eldest young master beaten to such an extent, to the point he couldn't muster an ounce of strength to fight back. It was unprecedented. Everyone turned to Zhuo Fan in fear. Perhaps only soaring demonic dragon was capable of doing so much damage. Their dread only rose. Those geniuses from the 7 houses had it worse. Ever since Zhuo Fan showed up, all he ever did was bash these arrogant young masters and misses. They accepted Huangpu Qingtian being the strongest, since he was from Regent Estate and all, the head of the houses. He was a monster through and through, while Zhuo Fan, well, the guy came from a third-rate clan, yet he was the one who trampled all standards and obstacles with his power. It was the greatest form of ridicule. Long Jie and Long Kuei were the most bitter the first time they met him. They recognized Zhuo Fan's talent, but looked down on his status. Regardless of how God-sent one's talent was, without a house behind him, he would never surpass them. Yet now, Zhuo Fan created miracles wherever he went. His current project involved brutalizing the strongest genius of the 7 houses, Huangpu Qingtian. His display gave each of them a resounding slap to the face, informing them who was the real hero here. Huff! Panting, Zhuo Fan's eyes steeled. He looked invincible in the eyes of others, but he knew himself best. Releasing all that purple lightning ate away at his body, and he was now seriously hurt. It was highly likely that he was going to collapse before he finished Huangpu Qingtian off. Eldest young master! Yu Yushan's trio went to their master and helped him up. Seeing his disfigured face, they cried, "Eldest young master, the punk's power is out of this world. We have to fall back. He will kill us all at this rate." Bullshit! Flinging his arm to make his way through the trio, Huangpu Qingtian's rage grew stronger. As long as I'm here, failure is impossible. I've never known defeat in my entire life. The 3 felt conflicted and their faces fell. All they could do was shake their heads at the pig-headed Huangpu Qingtian. Dude, take a good look at yourself and don't force the issue. So what if you always won? You are losing now when it mattered. What else can you do when even the Earth-ranked martial art has failed? That punk is a monster among freaking monsters. How is he so powerful? Of course, they knew to keep their thoughts to themselves, lest they poke Huangpu Qingtian's ego and end up a smear on the ground along with the countless others. One thing was certain, though. The man's imposing air was gone. Zhuo Fan was too strong for them to cope with. Taking a deep breath to calm down somewhat, Huangpu Qingtian's eyes pondered. Then he came to a decision as he muttered, "No choice but to use that. You still have a way, eldest young master?" The trio asked in unison. Huangpu Qingtian hesitated for a second, but the sight of the proud maniac who had reduced him to such a low state steeled his decision as he spoke defiantly. "I am invincible. No one can beat me. And you are no different." Huangpu Qingtian released a sound that shook the world. A golden dragon image flew out of his body and circled above him. Yu Yushan's trio cried out, "W, what is that thing?" Long Xingyun cried out, "To this thing again?" What is Huangpu Qingtian growing within himself? He recalled perfectly how twice they had trapped Huangpu Qingtian, But this damn golden dragon ruined all their attempts. They took it for martial art, but after careful inspection they found it to be something else. Fang Qiubai felt it was oddly familiar. He saw Huangpu Qingtian use it earlier when dealing with Chu Qingqing's trio, but that was in defense and it had only appeared for a brief second. Even he took it for a martial art, but seeing it circling above like a real dragon, he began to pick up on the clues. Damn that bastard! Is he out of his mind bringing it out for everyone to see? Huangpu Tianyuan clenched his fists, and raved Regent Estates elders were wiping their brows. Looking around in fear of being overheard, sighing, Lung Wuchang shook his head. He won't be able to kill that freak otherwise. I only hope its appearance, after 1,000 years, won't have anyone here capable of recognizing it. The other Regent Estate clansmen nodded and rejoiced inside, not for long though, as Zhuo Fan's cold voice echoed in everyone's ears. Dragon vein soul? Frowning, Zhuo Fan turned grave. Huangpu Qingtian's face twitched, and he cursed inside. Damn rotten punk, you actually recognize this 1,000-year-old relic. Regent Estates elders almost spat blood. They wished nothing more than to get in there and kill him on the spot. Blast it! How did it twerp like you find out about it? This is ridiculous. That was all Fang Qiubai needed as he slapped his head. He and Digu Zhantian shared a shocked look and barked. Huangpu Tianyuan, your insolence knows no bounds. The imperial family ordered you to protect caged Dragon City, yet you secretly took out the dragon vein soul from the imperial family's dragon vein. Are you planning on revolting? The people panicked. They had never seen Jade Flute Divine Sword so outraged. The words dragon vein soul had landed on deaf ears for many small clans, even a few first-rate ones. As for the leaders of the 6 houses, they paled and turned to Regent Estate in mute shock. Others next to them had no clue how dreadful the dragon vein soul was. But being from the elite houses, they understood its importance. And that was what gave them the biggest shock. Regent Estate had the nerve to move a dragon vein soul. Sweating buckets, Huangpu Tianyuan's heart was in his throat. Dragon vein soul was the imperial family's lifeline. It nurtured and brought prosperity to the Tianyu Empire. It was of national importance. Moving the dragon vein would bring about a huge change in the world. Even the third pillar, Parish's high priests, said those wielding the dragon vein held the fate of the land in their hands. This was why the Regent Estate was tasked with defending it first, because the Regent Estate and Tianyu's imperial family were related, worthy of trust. Secondly, only the 7 houses had the power to defend it and prevent any riots appearing from vying over it, but Huangpu Qingtian took it out before the whole crowd. That was the same as declaring the Regent Estate planned on using it for themselves, replacing the imperial family. This was a clear act of treason, and divine dragon Fang Qiubai had the right to destroy them where they stood. Regent Estate had yet to unite the 7 houses, and their power wasn't yet up to the challenge of facing the imperial family. If a war broke out, the Regent Estate was done for. Huangpu Tianyuan gnashed his teeth. Damn bastard! You're so blind to see the real picture, and yet you want to steal my position? How can you condemn the entire house over your disgrace? Even if you lost against that freak, that still doesn't give you the right to release the dragon vein soul. Regent Estate's elders were on pins and needles. Huangpu Tianyuan took a deep breath and was about to bullshit his way out of this, but didn't get the chance. Lung Wuchang spoke calmly. Sir Fang, you are wrong. The dragon vein soul is the foundation of our nation, but this does not, by any means, prove we wish to rebel. We are only following our duties based on His Majesty's decree. Did His Majesty tell you to take out the dragon soul for your own selfish use? Fang Qiubai spat. Humph, Sir Lung, I know your mind is sharp and cunning, but you better give me a damn good reason why I shouldn't decorate Dragon Cloud City with your heads. There was widespread shock, with those in the dark of the importance of dragon vein soul even more. So the mighty divine dragon was going to slaughter the Regent Estate? Was the Emperor going to fight the 7 houses and plunge the nation into turmoil? Regent Estate's elders felt weak in their knees. Only Lung Wuchang was the picture of calmness. Chapter 319, Demagogue. Chapter 319, Demagogue. Elite coder. Lung Wuchang twirled his beard as his eyes swept the crowd, ultimately stopping at Fang Qiubai. Sir Fang, do you know what Regent Estate's duty is at Caged Dragon City? To protect the dragon vein. Fang Qiubai gave a flat reply, smiling. Lung Wuchang sneered. Do you know why we guard it then? Out of fear of being stolen, perhaps? Fang Qiubai stared back at him in silence. Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Tianyu's 9 dragons dragon vein was sealed in Caged Dragon City by the first high priest himself, for the future of the empire and posterity. But the dragons within the dragon vein are a relentless force, and once they break the seal, they would unleash endless death and destruction. The people would suffer, and chaos would thrive. That is why Regent Estate was tasked with defending it. Rather than say it was to guard against greedy people, it was more in line to stop the dragon vein's collapse and ensuing devastation. The Prime Minister is precisely right. Lung Wuchang gave Zhuge Changfeng a half bow, then turned to Fang Qiubai. The dragon vein is tyrannical. Only Tianyu's great ancestor could make one of the dragon souls accept him. After the great ancestor's death, none could make them submit, ultimately getting sealed in Caged Dragon City. Over the course of the millennium, there were many lusting for its power, but were devoured instead. Sir Fang stated that we have taken it out for our private use, which is absolutely ludicrous. If we were to give it to Sir Fang, would you accept it? In your capacity as a divine dragon, the peak of Tianyu's power, how confident are you of success? If not even Sir dares, how could we? Anger rose within Fang Qiubai, but he remained silent. The dragon vein soul was a heaven and earth spiritual being that chose its master. Anyone that tried to claim it instead would find a swift and cruel ending. Devoured whole, in other words, the Regent Estate had no reason to take it out. And yet, glancing at the dragon soul next to Huangpu Qingtian, Fang Qiubai's eyes glinted. Then, Sir Lung, explain to me why your dear eldest young master is currently in possession of it. Squinting, Lung Wuchang peeked at the national elemental stone, then smiled. What's to explain? The dragon soul has chosen its master. Isn't it obvious? Fang Qiubai clenched his fists, boring holes into Lung Wuchang with his glare. Lung Wuchang's smile never faltered. Regent Estate has always had peaceful and righteous people, facing any difficulties by ourselves, not willing to let the world see our suffering. But since Sir Fang insists on knowing, I will oblige you with explanation as to dispel any further misunderstandings. Lung Wuchang let out a pained sigh. It all began 24 years ago with 9 dragons' insurrection. Our venerables were unable to stop them, suffering heavy casualties. But we were blessed with an eldest young master that had outstanding talent. The dragon's soul chose him as its master, sparing the world of its ire. Later we realized that it was impossible to seal it back again, and since it was calmly staying within the eldest young master, we simply let it be. If we forced it back into the seal, we feared the other 8 dragon souls would use this chance to escape as well, and that would spell doom for Tianyu. Lung Wuchang's speech was heart-rending, subtly shifting the blame on the dragon soul's escape. He even embellished with the Regent Estate suffering heavy casualties in an attempt to stop it. Thus, in a wonderful and convoluted way, he turned their treason into martyrdom. They had sacrificed so much to keep the dragon vein sealed. It would do them heavy injustice if the emperor would strike them in response. Fang Qiubai gnashed his teeth. What dragon vein insurrection? Am I to take your word for it? Who else? But you know what the hell truly happened back then. You can say whatever you like at this point. It was because of this that the Regent Estate stuck to their statement, it's all the dragon soul's fault. That they always only had the empire's safety at heart, but ended up unable to seal it back. Fang Qiubai couldn't do shit to them now. If the Regent Estate was wiped out regardless, they would incur the wrath of the common people. And no one ever wanted to take responsibility for a possible civil war, now did they? Fang Qiubai took a deep breath. Why weren't we informed? Informed? Lung Wuchang sneered and sighed. Sir Fang, as a court official, couldn't you tell? It would invite suspicion, and who knew how twisted the truth would become? The circumstances today had forced me to reveal it to Sir Fong. We hoped to have endured this disaster in silence, and only mourn our heavy losses in our hearts. We'd rather brave through the pain and torment than receive suspicion and undue disrespect for what was only expected of us. Zhuge Chang Feng slipped a giggle and shook his head. Lin Wuchang was a true wordsmith. He showed they were ever devoted, bearing through any pain, while also cursing the emperor on the sly for casting suspicion on its loyal subjects. Harming them now would make the imperial family the bad guy here and criticized for harming their patriots. It would ultimately end with the imperial family losing the people's favor, and that wasn't even half of it. Lang Wuchang twisted it all up by saying that the dragon's soul broke the seal and accepted Huangpu Qingtian as its master. That was the same as saying he truly was God-sent as the world's rightful king, with the only man in Tianyu's history capable of having a dragon, soul being none other than Tianyu's first emperor. That lifted Huangpu Qingtian to the same status. What further proof was needed? It also worked to plant the seed in the hearts of the people that the Huangpu clan of Regent Estate would replace Tianyu's Yuan clan in ruling the empire, but with Lang Wuchang not stating it. Fang Qiubai couldn't exactly point it out either. His only choice was to seethe in silence. Regent Estate, elders' worry, was now replaced with full-blown conceit, arrogance. Being stuck up the usual, Sir Lung is a true demagogue. Fang Qiubai snorted. Lung Wuchang raised his head and waved. You give me too much credit. I am only stating the facts, ha ha ha. Fang Qiubai faltered and turned to look at the arrogant figure within the national elemental stone with killing intent. Lung Wuchang may have preached all he wanted, but Huangpu Qingtian's death was guaranteed in his eyes. The third pillar's prophecy had never been wrong. The one to have the Tao dragon would have the world. Since the brat has a dragon soul, then he might obtain the whole dragon vein. That will spell the end of Tianyu's imperial family. He noticed how the eyes of the rest changed when they looked at Huangpu Qingtian. They may even be hailing him as their rightful king. A bad sign indeed. Only Luo Yinchang and the rest stared at the national elemental stone with worry. Huangpu Qingtian had the dragon soul's help, Providence, as he said, by his side. Zhuo Fan may be stronger, but how is he going to defeat the king, handpicked by fate? Huangpu Qingtian was under the dragon soul's protection, taking a deep breath. Zhuo Fan stared at his opponent, knowing this as well, just that he didn't place 2 cents on some flimsy reason as providence or whatnot. Moreover, his blood infant wasn't the least bit inferior to the dragon vein soul, much better in fact, as blood infant had a far sharper mind. It was the symbol of a true king, with it roaming around Huangpu Qingtian and defending him. It's going to make things hard. Spitting blood, Zhuo Fan frowned as his heart sank. He had released too much purple lightning, and his body couldn't take it anymore. It was now or never. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth and charged. All or nothing. Oh, you dare come at me, knowing full well what dragon vein soul can do. Die then. Huangpu Qingtian saw Zhuo Fan ready for battle and shouted, Not even father could subdue the dragon soul. Well, I did it in my childhood. Do you know what that means? I am God's gift to the world. You are not fighting me, but fate, heaven itself. The only outcome you'll have from it is death. Huangpu Qingtian spoke with such complete confidence, self-conceit, and presence, as if he was an emperor rebuking a peasant. Yu Yushan's trio by his side basked in the leftover pride, making full use of their connection. They were destined to be officials. Those watching the national elemental stone side. With the dragon's soul taken out, they had written Zhuo Fan off, who could fight against heaven. Zhuo Fan gave a snort instead. No wonder those blood crocs listen to you. So that's your spiel. Dragon vein soul is the lord over the earth that no one dares disobey. A king's right indeed, providence even. Your point being? Purple lightning flickered all over Zhuo Fan as he gathered all his power and shouted, I am soaring, demonic dragon. I will ascend the 9 heavens if I have to. Don't ever think your puny earth dragon king, a crownless dragon, can stand in my way. This painted shock on everyone's faces. Providence declared through its agent, the dragon vein soul, who was king. But Zhui Fan wasn't buying it. He would have disgraced his soaring demonic dragon title if he did. He feared nothing, not even heaven. Huangpu Qingtian shuddered. His eyes bloodshot, he could accept the earlier defiance. But now he had displayed the dragon vein soul's approval, and yet this ant still dared to look down on him? Huangpu Qingtian had long passed the limits of his patience from an early age. He knew that he was the one destined to have the dragon vein. The royal throne offered to him on a silver platter. Every man, including his father, had to bow before him. Zhuo Fan knew this and showed not an ounce of respect. Enraging him further, the one thing his entire pride relied on was looked down at with such scorn that it was a heavy blow to his self-esteem. As if to say he was king above all, but always beneath Zhuo Fan. His fist tightened and he roared, "Then I shall take heaven's stead in eradicating the world of an ant daring to defy a king's authority." Huangpu Qingtian clawed. 9 dragons diamond body. Earth dragon, empowered claw. As the dragon's soul took flight, the earth quaked, and a surge of incredible might rose up from underground. Chapter 320, Heaven-Devouring Thunder Phoenix. Chapter 320, Heaven-Devouring Thunder Phoenix. Elite Coder, roar. The dragon roar's might buckled the world itself, followed shortly by the dragon's soul ascending to the 9th heaven, then plunging back into the earth below. The ground quaked, and beast roars resounded. The terrible power came from the souls and worked its way up into the body of everyone, scaring them in body and mind. Then a beast's head came out of the ground and swallowed them whole. Zhuo Fan frowned. The 9 dragons' diamond body was an earth ranked martial art at its base, and the dragon vein soul was a lord of the land as well. With them combined, the martial art had its power doubled. Truly capable of ripping the world asunder, Zhuo Fan took a deep breath, and the roaming purple lightning around him focused, ready for the final strike. Rumble. The earth literally exploded as the golden dragon, 300 meters long, shot from underground, aiming for Zhuo Fan. Its fangs and claws bared, setting itself up to tear into heavens themselves if it had to roar. With another dragon roar, the dragon's might descended, reaching Zhuo Fan 1,000 meters away. The man was shocked. He had a guess it would be strong, but not this much. The dragon held enough power to write off any radiant stage expert on the spot. Gu Santong and divine dragons, not included the onlookers, gasped, their very core shaking in fear. How can a pre-radiant stage expert hold enough power to destroy everything? Yu Yushan's trio were doing a victory dance as they laughed. Such power! I knew the eldest young master was heaven's greatest gift on earth. He is invincible beneath heaven. That punk can be all heaven-defying he wants, but not even he can match up to the eldest young master. Here, the punk is done for, ha ha ha. The trio were having the time of their lives with their early celebration. They had invested so much blood and sweat into this, lost so many men, and now it had finally paid off. Only Chu Qingqing and company were shaking at the mighty display. Worry gnawed at their conscience as tears fell down unabated. Fong Qiubai's eyes shrank, and he sighed. The dragon vein soul is a true match for an earth-ranked martial art. Such power makes the outcome obvious. Huangpu Qingtian truly is the first in his generation. The rest nodded as well. They turned in the direction the golden dragon was charging to see a man wrapped in purple lightning standing there with his back straight, his gaze hard. He was dauntless in the face of danger. Earning no few size, Zhuo Fan would have beaten Huangpu Qingtian if they were going by talent alone. But the sudden reveal of dragon vein soul, of Providence's machinations, left all taking his demise with pity. No mortal could defy heaven's will. The people were already lamenting, writing Zhuo Fan off as he was receiving the capital punishment for his transgression. Yet Zhuo Fan's eyes never lost their light. His fighting spirit burned hot against adversity to him. The dragon vein soul was a mere spirit born of this world, albeit a pretty strong one. Yet it had no damn relation with Providence and the likes, even if true Providence descended, as long as I am the stronger one. Let heaven make you a god in this world, but it still won't save you for me. Zhuo Fan's eyes steeled and his hands made a sign. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan, heaven made me king, the new world order. You dare go against me, and you shall die for defying heaven. You shall die just because I wish it. It is the will of heaven, your fate. Huangpu Qingtian cackled. Drunk on power and megalomania, this nemesis that had defied him for so long would finally meet his end. Who wouldn't be happy? Zhuo Fan's face was cold, his eyes flashing purple, his hands making the signs as he shouted, "Screw you! I alone decide my fate. The one to die is you." Zhuo Fan then roared, Wraith style. Third move, Necro Dragon Screech. Roar! An earth-shaking dragon roar pierced the clouds, and a pulse spread from Zhuo Fan's mouth. Huangpu Qingtian mocked. A trifling, profound, ranked sound martial art? How can it stand up to my dragon soul and earth-ranked martial art? Humph, I get it. You are on your last leg, the desperate attempt of a hopeless fool. Humph, to deal with the dragon vein soul, a soul-based martial art is all I need. Not to mention, this isn't your average sound martial art. You think you're the only one who can boost a martial art? Zhuo Fan's grin turned sinister. Huangpu Qingtian doubled back, and before he could react, the damage was done. Zhuo Fan's roar moved slowly towards the golden dragon, only to explode 100 meters from it when the sound dissipated. Purple lighting surged in its wake, spreading like wildfire and taking the form of 100-meter-long purple lightning bird. The purple lightning crackled in every direction, its power bearing down on the incoming golden dragon. Huangpu Qingtian cried, "What is that? Your doom." Zhuo Fan's face split into a grin as he was reeling, about to collapse. This last move had him spent, but it still couldn't wipe the savage smirk from his lips. While you used your dragon soul to add to your martial arts power, what stops me from infusing my entire purple lightning into the sound wave? Huangpu Qingtian's face twitched. How can purple lightning ever match my dragon soul? Dragon vein soul is a king symbol that no being in this world dares defy. Your purple lightning is nothing. It isn't even conscious. Dragon vein soul, shred him. Roar. Huangpu Qingtian's words set the golden dragon into a frenzy, charging for Zhuo Fan. Its vicious face set to tear all who opposed it to the earth. Ranked martial art topped with dragon vein soul actually had a mind of its own. Following Huangpu Qingtian's order, Zhuo Fan watched it all with a sneer. Purple lightning is beneath the dragon soul? Humph, ignorant fool. Zhuo Fan didn't know where the purple lightning came from, but it had the potential to kill a sacred beast. Not to mention, Zhuo Fan had added a little something to it. A trace of azure flame. It wasn't as overbearing as the purple lightning, but it had a spark of intelligence. Each time Zhuo Fan was in dire straits, the azure flame would come out and shield him from harm. Zhuo Fan had done this so that the Thunderbird would gain the azure flame's awareness. Zhuo Fan pointed, his bloodthirst exploding in his roar. Kill him, earth, ranked martial art. Heaven-devouring, thunder phoenix. Correct, an earth, ranked martial art. With the purple lightning and a bit of azure flame, the profound, ranked martial art was forcefully upgraded to a new rank. The Thunderbird cried out at his order. Shooting forth golden light erupted as the dragon roared, and purple lightning scalded the heavens in an unbridled display of raw power. The people below saw a dragon and a Thunderbird clash in an apocalyptic explosion, ringing their ears, and then it happened under the Thunderbird's purple lightning explosion. The dragon began to crumble, inch by inch, as it dissolved into golden specks. With a cry of pain, the golden dragon soul left the huge dragon and fled for Huangpu Qingtian. The purple Thunderbird had scared the dragon vein soul off. How is this possible? Huangpu Qingtian's jaw hit the floor, his eyes bulged out. Others didn't fare any better. Holy hell! Dragon vein soul, you're supposed to be a lord of the land, its king. What are you doing getting scared of a silly, flickering bird? Where has your rampant attitude gone? Your master had even bragged about you being his royal symbol. The scared dragon vein soul's reply to their thoughts would be a round of abuse. You know shit. I am the king of the land, but that thing is the king of the skies. What else am I to do but run? Ignorant whelps. Stop spewing crap when you know nothing of the world's inner workings. I am born of the earth, but that thing is born of the world. We are light years apart. Not that any side knew any of this, of course. It was just that their minds were blown away seeing the dragon vein soul running away with its tail between its legs. Their brains went out of commission. Dragon vein soul ain't so tough after all. Fong Chobai watched it all bleary-eyed. Then he frowned, then he shook his head, and lastly looked at Zhuo Fan. Astounded dragon vein soul wasn't weak, not by a long shot. It was the kid using a far deadlier attack. Even Fong Chobai started praising. Just what are you, kid? With the dragon vein soul abandoning ship, the 300-meter-long golden dragon turned into an earth dragon, and an average earth-ranked martial art was no match for the purple thunderbird. Collapsing in seconds, what followed next was obvious. The thunderbird flew at Huangpu Qingtian, its eyes filled with killing intent, just like Zhuo Fan's. How could this be? Gnashing his teeth, Huangpu Qingtian was still in denial. The dragon vein soul, the cornerstone of his pride and joy, of his very existence, was scared off by some purple lightning. What is that lightning that is able to scare the king of the land? He didn't have the time to ponder such philosophical questions, though. The Thunderbird was coming in for the kill. Chapter 321, At Death's Door. Chapter 321, At Death's Door. Elite Coder. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes showed fear for the first time. The dreadful aura of the Thunderbird posed a definite and tangible threat to his life. This hadn't been brought about before, not even when Zhuo Fan was bashing him around. Because he had a fallback, the dragon vein soul, he was destined to rule, heaven's gift on earth, with no man capable of defeating him. And yet, run. Yu Yushan's trio knew the tables had turned. The Thunderbird was a very real danger to anything in existence. The 6 dragons and 1 phoenix were no exception, ending up as nothing more than bone meal. That prediction had them running frantically for their lives. Funnily enough, their grand boss was doing the same thing for the first time ever. Not that it would do much good at this late an hour. They barely added 100 meters between them when the Thunderbird flapped its crackling wings and was upon Huangpu Qingtian. Huangpu Qingtian was traumatized. Facing this world destroyer and its all-powerful aura, all he could do was shout, "Transformation! Earth Dragon Claw!" A flash of golden light shone, and his entire right arm was enveloped in light among the dragon roars. It was at this instant that the Thunderbird ran into him. The berserk purple lightning pulverized anything it touched. Boom! The sky itself turned purple from the sheer magnitude of the blast. Purple lightning spread like wildfire, catching the 3 slowpokes and sending them sprawling. Heavily wounded, the array holding Zhuo Fan prisoner began to shake for the first time. The 365 profound heaven experts spat blood at the same time. Weakened, everyone was shocked at how the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, the peak of power in the profound heaven stage, couldn't even take on the afterblast of the Thunderbird. The microcosmic orbit array, said to contain even a radiant stage expert, suffered under the tyrannical purple lightning. Every one of the 365 profound heaven experts controlling it were left with heavy wounds. The power of the Thunderbird was obvious. They all watched the thick dust, eyes widened. Not even Region Estate could contain the shock they felt. Who could conceive it possible for Zhuo Fan to employ such power to annihilate everyone? What then of Huangpu Qingtian, who took the full blast? Everyone watched the screen with bated breath. Zhuo Fan spurted blood, and the lightning faded from his body, focusing all the purple lightning into one blow and forcing a profound, ranked martial art to go a rank higher had left him teetering on the edge of collapse. His body was far too weak to handle an earth-ranked martial art, or he'd have already trained in one. But to defeat Huangpu Qingtian, he threw caution to the wind and used every ounce of his strength. This left him on the brink of destruction. Zhuo Fan was now weaker than your average bone-tempering expert. Even after killing Huang Pu Qingtian, he would still be in danger on Beast King Mountain, though he wasn't of a mind to care. As long as Huang Pu Qingtian was dead and done, nothing else mattered. Narrowing his eyes, Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and moved slowly towards the cloud of dust. All that purple lightning did a number on his body, with no less than 20 wounds on his body deep enough to show the bone. His staggering walk was that of a demon from Hell Yushan's trio were shaken to their core. They tried to get away, but any movement only aggravated their injuries. They were going nowhere fast. They could only stare at the demon trudging towards them. Damn it! The 300 people outside. Release the damn array and come save us. Yu Yushan shouted Yan Bongi, and Lin Xianfeng did the same. Release the array already. The hellish image had them traumatized and horrified to the point of peeing themselves. The viewers watched it all in heavy silence. At the end of it all, the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix were mere men, fearing death and clinging to life. All that metal they had was now gone. All of Tianyu held the 7 houses in reverence, practically worshipped them. But if there was one thing the esoteric debate showed, what Zhuo Fan's fight showed, was that the grand disciples of these houses were nothing but disgraces. The effect was immediate. The surviving clans had their opinion of the 7 houses sharply diminished, while towards the Luo clan they held no little amount of respect in this great battle. The Luo clan rose above the masses through their acts. Their steward even more so, fighting adversity without a hint of fear, his tall and imposing figure facing heaven itself. It got everyone's blood pumping. Everyone dreamt to be a hero at some point. Everyone yearned to fight back the authority breathing down on them, but none had the nerve to do it. Yet Zhuo Fan, a mere third-rate clan steward, did it for them, fulfilling their wish and brutalizing the 7 houses experts. It had gone beyond mere fighting oppression as he went against Providence itself, against the heaven-made king, Huang Pu Qingtian, and his kingly symbol. Dragon Vein Soul, not even a destined king, was infallible, dead. Just the same before the third-rate clan's Zhuo Fan, everyone turned to the weakened Zhuo Fan with eyes filled with respect. Even the vassals of other houses had their views changed. Lung Wucheng noticed, and clenched his beard, even pulled a hair. But he was too engrossed in his scowl to notice Fang Qiubai sported a big smile. By defeating Huang Pu Qingtian, Zhuo Fan had cut the 7 houses' prestige in one fell swoop. His Majesty would be ecstatic at the news. The Emperor had planned for Zhuo Fan to cut down the Regent estate's momentum, but the man had gone leagues beyond his duty. Zhuo Fan had passed his mission with flying colors. Regent estate's very reputation was severely affected. It was a great help for when they had to quell the 7 houses. Fang Qiubai smiled and nodded. Having the Dragon Vein Soul doesn't mean a thing. Huang Pu Qingtian was still dragged through the mud before everyone. He won't have the gall to be cocky now. I forbid it. Fang Qiubai's bright smile faded, while Lung Wucheng and the rest of the Regent estate watched their vassals tense up as a cold voice came from within the dust cloud. Rumble. Zhuo Fan couldn't fight the shudder. His face darkened as he looked ahead in stunned silence. Yu Yushan's trio looked as well, with tears of joy welling in their eyes. Eldest young master lives. This can't be. Fang Qiubai was aghast. He suffered the brunt of all that raw power no radiant stage expert could take. How the hell? The dust scattered and revealed a bloody and panting Huang Pu Qingtian with his entire right arm turned into a dragon claw. Like a true monster, it was this claw that ruined Zhuo Fan's mighty blow transformation. Fang Qiubai and Zhuo Fan cried at the same time, and color drained from their faces. The act implied changing one's soul and body. Special cultivation methods could turn one into a merciless beast when trained to perfection, and Huang Pu Qingtian, who had the Dragon Vein Soul, would ultimately turn into a dragon. Huang Pu Qingtian only had a claw, but it was a true dragon claw, an earth dragon's claw. Tough beyond imagination. Leaps above even a 6th-grade spiritual weapon. How? To reach transformation, he had to have trained 9 dragons' diamond body to perfection. But he's still in the 1st level. How did he do it? Fong Chobai was incredulous. Not even Tianyu's founding emperor could do it. Lung Wuchang sighed, seeing Huangpu Qingtian safe, and smiled at Fong Chobai. Ha ha ha, it's a simple matter of talent. Fong Chobai was overwhelmed. Has Huangpu Qingtian's talent reached such a monstrous level that he could transform before training 9 dragons' diamond body to completion? That made him the most dangerous being in existence. When he finished 9 dragons' diamond body, not even Gu Santong could face him. It will mark the day when the Regent estate will become the ruling family. Lung Wuchang easily gleaned into his thought process, looking at the national elemental stone with a smile. The true winner has finally been decided. Whoosh! Huangpu Qingtian sprung at Zhuo Fan, clawing at him. Zhuo Fan panicked. Try as he might, he was too weak to even dodge, but he was still defiant, gnashing his teeth and gathering the last vestige of power. Wraith-style's second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw! Roar! A dragon roar began, but was cut off. Huangpu Qingtian's own claw had a firm grip on the enemy's claw, not a chance. Zhuo Fan's last act scared him. Huangpu Qingtian no longer looked at Zhuo Fan with the usual haughty attitude. Instead, he looked at him with fear. Zhuo Fan was the first to ever shake him so much. So for the first time he went all out. He felt Zhuo Fan was at his weakest moment, on his deathbed, but against Zhuo Fan he would never feel safe until the very last breath left his body. Huangpu Qingtian wailed and ripped Zhuo Fan's right arm clean off. Blood spurted like a fountain, and Luo Yunchang cried in fear. Zhuo Fan's eyes bulged out and his features twisted. But he pushed through the pain and pierced at Huangpu Qingtian with his wings, despite how hopeless it was. Chapter 322 Fleeing. Chapter 322 Fleeing. Elite Coder. Clang. A metallic screech was heard as the lightning wings struck the claw Huangpu Qingtian easily used to defend panting. Huangpu Qingtian tightened his claw, staring Zhuo Fan in the eye. Zhuo Fan met his gaze, bewildered. Why couldn't the lightning wings pierce it? I told you, you have no chance. Huangpu Qingtian's face twisted with savagery and tore off one of Zhuo Fan's wings. Blood spurted from his back, and Zhuo Fan broke out in sweat, falling down. The pain in his back blinded him for a moment, but he gnashed his teeth through the pain. Luo Yunchang cried out, tears falling like a river. The other women turned their heads away. They couldn't bear to watch, yet their eyelids never stopped trembling. Zhuo Fan shook from the pain. He made a fist, wanting to get up with his only arm, but Huangpu Qingtian stomped on his other wing. Looking down on him, the savage dragon claw slowly lifted him up. Game over. The punk is done for. Lung Wuchang sighed. Despite the stunned face he pulled, that was too close. I didn't foresee the punk having so much of that strange purple lightning. If not for the eldest young master having that last move, I fear everything would have been in vain. Regent Estate's glory would have hit rock bottom, and the vassals would no longer worship us. He saw that the others now looked at the crippled Zhuo Fan with worry and lamentation, as if to say, fighting Regent Estate was fighting heaven. The only outcome was death. Lung Wuchang was pleased. This was exactly what he wanted. Zhuge Changfeng looked on with regret. A pity. With the kid's power, if he just wasn't so hot-blooded and lost his mind, he would have had an even chance at victory. Ha ha ha, Prime Minister, is this how you work? There are no ifs in this world. Failure means annihilation. Lung Wuchang smiled at him. Zhuge Changfeng's eyes glinted. I only mourn the loss of a talent. A pity for him to go down this way. Naturally, he only has himself to blame for this outcome. The Prime Minister is most right. We, the schemers, fear becoming berserk ourselves and digging our own graves. Lung Wuchang and Zhuge Changfeng shared a look, then laughed. On the battlefield, a shadow watched it all from a corner. Finding himself at an impasse out of Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingtian, he only wanted the strongest. And although they were equally powerful, Zhuo Fan had the greater potential, but now Zhuo Fan had lost, and was about to die. Should he go save him? Sigh, everything's so twisted. A headhunter feared, not searching the world for thousands of miles yet to come out empty, but being forced to choose one of two prized horses. It's too vexing. But soon, the shadow came to a decision. He wanted the strongest. That hadn't changed. Zhuo Fan had the greatest potential, but defeat spoke by itself. He didn't pity him regardless of how great the kid was. Huff! Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingtian were panting, staring at each other in hatred. They both were spent of yuan qi, body riddled with wounds, but it was obvious that Zhuo Fan was far worse for wear. Zhuo Fan, your very existence is a threat to me. You must die. Huangpu Qingtian moved a trembling dragon claw and aimed for Zhuo Fan's chest, squinting. Zhuo Fan's blood bubbled from his right arm and his back, his face ashen, but the fire in his eyes burnt strong. Huangpu Qingtian, you will die for touching Ning Er. Oh, really? And how are you going to do that? From under my heel. Huangpu Qingtian mocked. Huangpu Qingtian's heart seized the next second. He could see Zhuo Fan had no intention of dying, but he looked back like a wild animal ready to tear into him. There's still some fight left in him. Huangpu Qingtian's unease only grew. Even if he dismembered Zhuo Fan, as long as the man's eyes burned, the threat still existed. With a roar, Huangpu Qingtian stabbed his claw at Zhuo Fan's heart. Ah! With a cry, Luo Yunchang could no longer bear to watch. Fang Qiubai squinted, overwhelmed by anxiety. Zhuo Fan's death proclaims the Regent estate as the winner. It will only make them stronger. Kid, you must live at all costs. Fang Qiubai shouted inside Divine Eye of the Void's second stage, Void Annihilation. As Huangpu Qingtian's claw inched forward, Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed with two golden halos and space warped. Huangpu Qingtian's claw would take Zhuo Fan's heart at this rate. But so too would Void Annihilation punch a hole through the enemy's chest. It truly was a life for a life, but Zhuo Fan still had Blood Infant. As long as Blood Infant was in his blood, even without a heart, he wouldn't die. For him, it was more of a heavy wound in exchange for a life. Even though Huangpu Qingtian was oblivious to these subtleties, he still didn't find it worth it to go down like this, startled by the warped space. Huangpu Qingtian dodged, and his claw stabbed the ground next to Zhuo Fan. They both get to live a while longer, yet Void Annihilation brushed past Huangpu Qingtian's left arm and peeled his flesh. Blood oozed out like water. Huangpu Qingtian had no time to react as Void Annihilation continued on its path and smashed into the array boom. Like a hole punched through the sky, the 6th grade array, Microcosmic Orbit Array, shattered. The 365 Profound Heaven experts acting as the core of the array died on the spot. They spurted up blood. Their eyes rolled into their heads, and they breathed their last. What just happened? Huangpu Qingtian looked at the wound on his arm, then at the crumbling array, but was left dumbfounded. He had no idea what had occurred. All that he knew was that Zhuo Fan landed a sneak attack on him, but how could a mere sneak attack be so powerful? Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth in hatred. He's still alive. Since he had failed, Zhuo Fan knew Huangpu Qingtian had to be on guard, and a second chance wouldn't come. With his last attempt failing, he was all out of means to catch Huangpu Qingtian unaware. I have no choice but to use my last plan. Humph, Lung Wuchang. I didn't think it was you in the end who managed to outplay me. You may be the unwanted contriver, but not even you could foresee my last resort. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed, and he ignored the pain as he moved, ripping his last wing that Huangpu Qingtian had pinned down. Huangpu Qingtian cried inside. He wants to run. And he pierced the dragon claw at Zhuo Fan's throat, just as Zhuo Fan vanished through the use of shift with the array gone. Zhuo Fan had regained his freedom, and no one could stop him now. Void Annihilation overcame the flaw of Divine Eye of the Void's first stage by breaking any restrictions. Zhuo Fan didn't use it all this time because he had no intention of escaping. Hellbent on finishing off Huangpu Qingtian, the array had him trapped. But so too was Huangpu Qingtian. He could have run away any time, anyway, something that Huangpu Qingtian wasn't privy to, and not even Lung Wuchang predicted this. It was unclear at this point who played Hu Wush. Zhuo Fan flashed 1,000 meters away and took out Qiaoer from the ring. He had to carry him as it flew away, not a moment too soon. As Zhuo Fan blacked out, Huangpu Qingtian took a few steps after him and spat blood. He glanced at the flesh gouged from his left arm, seeping blood, then at the hellscape around him. Littered with broken corpses, they had 10,000 men, paid such a heavy price, and still couldn't finish the job. The frustration fueled his raging howl. Feng Qiubai eased his breath. Noon expected the kid to break the array. He had them scared. Lung Wuchang was stunned and sighed. The kid is far more treacherous than I gave him credit for. Sir Lung, it seems to me the kid has escaped with his life and your meticulous planning failed. Ha ha ha, Zhuge Changfeng laughed. Lung Wuchang shook his head. He didn't look too pleased, yet his voice was calm. Prime Minister, I thank you for your concern. The kid had exceeded my calculations, but I have taken this outcome into account. With him on his deathbed, he is like a fish in a barrel, waiting to be squashed. Don't get so confident, Sir Lung. The kid is a true miracle worker. Ha ha ha, Zhuge Changfeng mocked. Lung Wuchang fell silent, but his eyes were completely focused on the national elemental stone, waiting for the next plan to come into play. Chapter 323. The future is ours. Chapter 323. The future is ours. Elite Coder. Caw. In the glow of the twilight sun, cawing entered the ears of the people there. As a murder of crows circled the bloodbath, Huangpu Qingtian stared in Zhuo Fan's last direction. Panting and frustrated, he had prepared the ambush, put so much effort into it, only to be routed and failing to take Zhuo Fan's life. Such disgrace lowered his royal prestige in the publics. What right did he have now to go vie for his father's position after such a gruesome slaughter? Ah! Huangpu Qingtian vented his frustration by wailing. The regret and anger only festered in his core. The crows landing nearby flew away, startled you. Yushan's trio was grounded and unable to move. Watching Huangpu Qingtian's irritation, they knew when to keep to themselves, afraid they'd direct his anger on themselves. Eldest young master, a weak voice ventured. Looking over, they saw Yan Fu bringing a dozen survivors of vassal clans. Fear clearly painted on his face, snapping his eyes on him. Huangpu Qingtian spat. Humph, such fortune upon you. So many have died, along with hundreds of profound heaven experts. But you, bone-tempering fools, and Yan Fu, the ants still breathe. Yan Fu and the others shuddered, but he was the first to fall to his knees, followed by the rest. Their heads lowered, silent as the grave. Eldest young master, forgive us. That monster put fear into us, and we escaped before the array was activated. So you lived. Huangpu Qingtian sneered. Yan Fu trembled, nodding stiffly. Huangpu Qingtian only had contempt for them, but Yan Bongyi's round of abuse cut him off before he could continue. Yan Fu, you are the stain of Pilking Hall. That monster killed your master, and when you had the chance to ambush him, what did you do? You chose the path of a sniveling coward. Eldest young master, I failed to teach my junior brother proper manners. If you want to punish him, you may go ahead and even kill this disgrace to avoid shaming us further. Yan Bongyi barked. Yan Fu gulped, shivering from fear, yet hatred growing inside him. It wasn't as much chastising, but more for the sake of the audience of Hall, Lord Yan Bagong, with everyone running away in fear just now. If Huangpu Qingtian were to think of killing them, who was there to stop him? Even if they were killed out in the open, would Pilking Hall seek regent to state for justice? Absolutely not. That in turn would make the world look down on Pilking Hall, and this was where Yan Bongyi's words came into play. By mocking Yan Fu, he saved the face of Pilking Hall, letting Huangpu Qingtian vent while also giving Regent Estate a resounding round of ass-kissing, showing his endless devotion towards Regent Estate. In the case Huangpu Qingtian killed Yan Fu then and there, he'd be safe. since Pilking Hall now authorized Huangpu Qingtian to deal with the main offender regardless of the outcome. Pilking Hall's honor was safeguarded, and the two houses would never be closer, all at the low price of throwing Yan Fu to the wolf, and that wasn't even the best part. Yan Bagong would definitely reward him for having saved Pilking Hall's honor. Yan Fu's rage only grew inside him, but he still laid there waiting. Huangpu Qingtian glanced at Yan Bongi, aware of his ploy, then smiled. It's fine. We have lost too many in this battle, and we need all the help we can get. We can't just have Yan Fu, a rare alchemist, killed. It will be of great help to us now that he's alive. Eldest young master's mercy knows no bounds. Let me express 1,000 thanks in my junior brother's stead. Yan Bongi put on the good guy act, then berated. Yan Fu, what are you gawking at? Thank the eldest young master for his mercy. It is all thanks to the eldest young master's infinite generosity that I don't have you punished as well. Yan Fu groaned, wishing nothing more than to give the man a few slaps. You threw me away, my own clansman, not even pleading for me, and now you're acting the savior? Even going as far as asking me for thanks? As if Huangpu Qingtian respects you so much that he spared my life. Humph, just you wait. I'll be sure to return the favor, don't you worry. And yet Yan Fu's face was filled with respect and gratitude. Thank you, eldest young master, for your mercy. Thank you, senior brother, for your care. Nodding, the two accepted in glee, putting on the face of chastising naughty children. What are the rest of you standing around for? Look after their injuries. Huangpu Qingtian pointed at Yu Yushan's trio. Yan Fu nodded, taking first a pill for Huangpu Qingtian. Then he and the rest went to nurse the other three. Huangpu Qingtian nodded at Yan Fu's meek figure. The kid has good eyes to know who gets the first pill. But then Huangpu Qingtian sighed over the biggest worry, letting Zhuo Fan escape. It would be hard looking for him in the wide expanse of Beast King Mountain. Huangpu Qingtian scowled and took out a jade slip. It was the last jade slip Lung Wucheng gave him, warning him repeatedly to never open it unless he ran out of options. The state he was in wasn't just out of options. Even with 1,000 ways, he still wouldn't have anything remotely good he could use. With Zhuo Fan's cunning, the same trick wouldn't work twice, not to mention he had no clue where to even begin the search. Sighing, Huangpu Qingtian paused in hesitation, then ultimately read the jade slip. Just what could Sir Lung have prepared in this late hour? What ingenious trick could we use? Finished reading the jade slip, his eyes shined, and he laughed. I see it now. Sir Lung is a true mastermind to take even that into account. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan, no matter how sly you are, you shall never escape my grasp. A brimming, sacred pill? The faint sound behind him caught his undivided attention. Huangpu Qingtian whipped his head to see Yan Fu trembling and facing away from everyone. The excitement got to him as he shouted, Yan Fu, what are you doing? And nothing. Yan Fu stiffly turned around to show a painful smile, while hiding his hand behind him, squinting. Huangpu Qingtian said coldly, What are you holding? Show it to me. Sweating buckets. Yan Fu hesitated for a long time before putting on a smile and presenting a storage ring with both hands. Congratulations, eldest young master. I found the brimming sacred pills, all 4 of them. Where? Huangpu Qingtian's eyes shined as he snatched the rings. Emptying them, he was looking at 4 vials in his palm. The brimming sacred pills. Yan Fu pointed at an arm soaked in blood. I took it from that arm. I thought, isn't that Zhuo Fan's arm? Huangpu Qingtian stared Yan Fu down. You found it quite fast, and even knew it was his. Were you perhaps watching our fight, waiting for the right moment to steal our things? Eldest young master, I would never even dream of it. Yan Fu fell to his knees in fear. Wouldn't dream of it. Huangpu Qingtian had a sinister smile as he eyed the 4 vials. Then how do you explain the missing seals from all 4 of the vials? Did you plan on switching the pills, is that it? Huangpu Qingtian used discerning field on the spot, only relaxing when he found the genuine goods in the vials. Yan Fu was scared to death and pleaded, Eldest young master, please, I only wanted to confirm they were real. As an alchemist, I just couldn't help but want to see an 8th grade pill. The hard stare was making him sweat buckets. Huangpu Qingtian spoke. Listen here, leave the others' possessions alone for now. The only items you're ever allowed to use are those I give you. You aren't even allowed to look, understand? Why, yes. I shall take it to heart, eldest young master. Yen Fu bobbed his head, grinning. Huangpu Qingtian gave a pleased nod. Then he turned to the somewhat recovered trio and showed them the pills. See that? I told you. All the pills I lost will one day return to me. Brimming sacred pill. The 3 perked up. Huangpu Tianyuan was moved. He was worried that the rotten bastard would only go after one, but instead he had obtained all 4. With such a fortune, he, the estate lord, would surely get one as well. The smile had yet to reach his eyes as he watched Huangpu Qingtian share the 3 pills with his allies. The 3 looked at him puzzled. Huangpu Qingtian snickered. Take it, and let's go hunt down Shuo Fan together. What? The 3 were stunned. The brimming sacred pill was as rare as it got. Yet Huangpu Qingtian was just going to hand it over? Huangpu Tianyuan went slack-jawed. Since when is that brat so generous? You should keep them to yourself when it counts the most. If you ever feel like being generous, do that in your own house, not with some brats. Snorting, Huangpu Qingtian could tell what they were thinking and said, Remember this well. The future of the world is ultimately ours. Chapter 324. Every trick in the book. Chapter 324. Every trick in the book. The future is ours. Those simple words had their ambition grow unchecked. Yushan's trio looked at Huangpu Qingtian smile and felt the brimming sacred pill in their hand, heavy as empty. Tie the pill. And those words were the perfect sales pitch. He said the same thing to all 6 dragons and 1 phoenix before they would exit, that they held the future in their grasp. They would soon surpass their own house lords and their glory, and now that they took his offered pill, they agreed to be wholly on Huangpu Qingtian's side. They would follow him blindly from now on, and the house's structure and interests would change. As a result, this implied that when they became house lords, they would still align with Huangpu Qingtian and listen to his orders. This single brimming sacred pill represented not just their allegiance, but their houses as well, and everything that came along with it. Their forces, their wealth, their souls. Huangpu Qingtian's plan of roping in the 3 future house lords was far more ingenious than how Huangpu Tianyuan earned the current house lord's favor. As long as the 3 held him in the highest regard, so too would the future 3 houses. Whether or not the 3 current house lords would object by writing them off as inheritors, Huangpu Qingtian wasn't the least bit worried. Once these 3 became his men, they would have Regent Estate behind them, and Regent Estate would do all in its power to get them the house lord position. If those geezer were tired of living, they were most welcome to refuse. Yushan's trio looked at each other in sorrow, feeling the weight of the pill growing by the second. They were over the moon, having gotten the brimming sacred pill, albeit at the price of betraying their own house. But if they refused, how would Huangpu Qingtian react? The 3 were pulled from 2 directions, but soon came to a decision and bowed. We thank the eldest young master for his generosity. Today's decision had sealed the fate and future of their houses in one direction, as vassals. But refusing it would most likely end with them buried on this mountain, tallying up both choices' ups and downs. The 3 favored satisfying their own interests. So what if they defected their clans in front of everyone? As long as the Regent Estate had their backs, their own house lords and elders wouldn't even touch them. Not to mention their house lord position was guaranteed. It was just about being Huangpu Qingtian's loyal dog. How bad could it be? Then again, they'd be below 1 man, but lords over the masses. At that time, a mere hint of accusing them for this decision would earn the offender a quick trip 6 feet under. That worked to calm their worries, and they showed pure respect. Huangpu Qingtian nodded and laughed. Ha! Twitching, Huangpu Tianyuan watched the wise and powerful son of his. while cackling with a mask of rage looking at the three house lords. He saw the glum hanging heavy on their faces. Huangpu Qingtian not only carried out the Regent Estate's plan to unify the houses, but spurred the juniors to fight for their elders' power. Even a blind man could see Huangpu Qingtian was strengthening his position for when the time came to take his father's place, be that as it may. Regent Estate's plan to unite the houses without conflict was of far greater benefit. Regent Estate's elders were totally for it. Evident by their prideful looks, Regent Estate's house, lord status, was reserved for the most capable. The father and son could fight all they wanted, as long as the future lord worked for the better of Regent Estate, and watching Huangpu Qingtian employ hidden schemes and tricks along with the power invested in him. Just like a true emperor, the elders loved him even more. Who would blame him now for calling them geezers? As long as you can make the Regent Estate thrive for thousands of years, you can even call us a bag of bones. Huangpu Tianyuan eyed the prideful elders behind him and sighed dejected. If this keeps up, the brat will soon come back with Zhuofan's head and earn great merit, higher than anyone. And what will become of me then? Squinting, Huangpu Tianyuan could no longer bear the stress and frustration, and said, Sir Lung, how sure are you of your plan to finish Zhuofan off? If it were anyone else, I'd guarantee it right away. But with how crafty he is, I can only go as far as 90%. Lung Wucheng spoke lightly. Huangpu Tianyuan's heart froze. Such assurance is insane. The man was now worried for Zhuofan's fate, and for the first time, resenting Lung Wucheng's sharp mind. Just what plan do you have to be so certain? Is there anyone out there able to survive you, an ant perhaps? Sighing, Huangpu Tianyuan's mood sank into the pits of despair. Lung Wucheng smiled and sighed. He knew fully well the thoughts this house lord had, but didn't mind them in the least. His genius mind was a rarity in this world. No matter what house lord took office in Regent Estate, it wouldn't change a thing. He would still be their right-hand man or left-hand man, all because of his strength. This was why he did not care what Huangpu Tianyuan thought. Zhuofan was the only one on his mind right now. Zhuofan was the first ever to have escaped his foolproof plans. He found it impossible to gauge Zhuofan's actions, and this unwanted contriver felt the same threat he felt from Zhuge Changfeng in this. Huangpu Qingtian and his interests were aligned to end Zhuofan. All right, now that you've made your decision, hurry and take it. After you enter the radiant stage, we will go hunt that pest down. Huangpu Qingtian smiled at the trio. They were all puzzled, and Yu Yushan was the first to inquire. Eldest young master, we do not know where to start. Do you perhaps know his location? But even so, why do we go after him this instant instead of waiting to break through? Ha ha ha. Zhuofan is bedridden, and he'll make sure to hide where no one can find him. Not even me. But Sir Lung knows he will sooner or later appear at one place, and that is where we'll wait for him. With him licking his wounds, we won't be disturbed for a while. It is our best chance to bolster our power. When everything is set and we ambush him, he will have no room to escape. Huangpu Qingtian laughed. The three nodded amazedly. If Sir Lung said it, it must be so. The three placed a simple defensive array around them and ate the brimming, sacred pill. Huangpu Qingtian smiled, placing Yan Fu and the others as guards. He placed his own defenses around and ate his own pill. The four of them were peak profound heaven experts, soon to be radiant stage experts. Courtesy of brimming, sacred pill, Huangpu Qingtian's soul strength would be multiplied tens of times, and not even Zhuofan with his shift would be able to escape his grasp. Zhuofan's end was nigh. In another place, a purple lightning bird stood before a dark cave. The crackling lightning was enough deterrence for any approaching spiritual beast. A man covered in blood laid in the cave, unmoving with his wings and arm ripped away. It was the first time Zhuofan had been in such a dangerous state. Chiaoer sometimes looked back in worry. It wanted to get Zhuofan some food and water, but was worried it would come back to find a spiritual beast gorging on his body. So he stood watch. 10 days came and went as man and beast monopolized the cave in complete silence. Only on the 15th day, A groan came from Zhuo Fan as he opened his eyes. The blinding sunlight coming from outside made him shriek. Chower flapped its wings and cheered with a smile. Zhuo Fan forced himself up and said, "Don't worry. As long as Blood Infant is safe, I won't die. How long was I out, Chower?" he asked Shriek. Chower flapped its wings and cried out. Zhuo Fan frowned and smiled. "Half a month? Just in time. Come, it's time for us to settle a debt." Shriek. Chower barred his way, anxiously flapping its wings. "You'll die if you go now." Smiling, Zhuo Fan patted its head. "Don't write off your old man just yet. I've got more than just a strong arm. A sharp head on my shoulders. Chower, by my reckoning, I won't even have to lift a finger to kill them all, Chower cocked its head, unable to read between the lines. But seeing the crafty smirk, it dawned on the bird, I didn't lose my right arm for nothing. Touching the stump, Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted. Chapter 325. No, you lost. Chapter 325. No, you lost. A lonely and lazy figure was approaching the water exit in Beast King Mountain. From the empty right sleeve it was clear he only had one arm. Zhuo Fan. The people beyond the National Elemental Stone had been waiting for him to show up for 20 days. After the fight back at the Earth exit, Zhuo Fan had vanished, only appearing before another exit. Now Zhuo Fan's coming had them gasping. He's still alive. But the pale face and the wobbling gait let them know he was far from healed being in such a damaged state. It would have been common sense to look for a quiet corner somewhere to lay low and lick his wounds. Yet here he was walking around. It made no sense. Luo Yunchang's eyes moistened. Why must you? Uncaring of the audience commenting on his appearance, Zhuo Fan walked forth. When he was 100 meters off of the water exit, he stopped. He looked down at the empty ground and sighed. Everyone was startled. What's he doing? Only Chu Qingqing and Luo Yunchang knew. Zhuo Fan paid homage to Xuanningsiang. This was where she died 20 days ago, taking a deep and long breath. Zhuo Fan forced back his sadness and grief. Ning'er, don't worry. Big brother, Zhuo, will soon make everyone follow you for what they did to you. May it bring you peace. Ha ha ha, bold words. How are you going to get revenge with that weak and crippled body? Are you a comedian now? A whistle reached his ears, for people now stood before Zhuo Fan, Huangpu Qingtian, and his allies. Then a dozen people walked out of the woods to surround him. Yan Fu and the surviving vassals. What was truly shocking was Huangpu Qingtian's group had entered the Radiant stage in preparation to deal with Zhuo Fan. Everyone knew they got the brimming sacred pill, and that they had a good chance of advancing. But seeing it was another matter entirely, seeing the four practically reborn, bolstered in power and speed. The people feared for the worse. In the long history of Tianyu, there had never been anyone entering the Radiant stage before the age of 30. But now there were 4 of them. Shocking the masses, Huangpu Tianyuan was the one suffering the most. If his son had brought just one brimming sacred pill home, the House Lord would have achieved his lifelong dream of entering the Radiant stage as well. But this wretched son of mine would rather leave his old man to die. Damn you! It was because of this he knew that when the 4 would return, their Radiant stage cultivation would be a threat to every House Lord. Ultimately to be replaced, the 4 House Lords looked at each other, crestfallen. Chu Qingqing was worried, sick, choked with emotion. How was Zhuo Fan going to survive being wounded like that and up against 4 Radiant stage experts? Fang Qiubai and Dugujantian shook their heads. Fate has caught up to the kid. He has nowhere else to go. Lung Wucheng was the only one with a smile on his face, like everything went according to plan. Zhuo Fan looked at the 4. Yet people found it odd how laid back he was about this whole trap thing. All he did was mutter, "Ning'er, do you see? Everyone who hurt you is here. Big brother, Zhui, will avenge you." Yu Yushan looked puzzled. Zhuo Fan, have you lost it? There are 4 Radiant stage experts here while you aren't even healed. There is a huge gulf between us, and yet you dare spout things like revenge? Humph! You have lost in all aspects. Lin Xianfeng shouted, frowning. Fan glanced at him, then showed a vague smile. Ha ha ha, no, it's you who has lost everything. Cut the crap, you lunatic. Even the blind can see we four are invincible. Wake up and smell the roses. Lin Xuanfeng's eyes narrowed as he cursed, but Fan's odd mirthless smile unnerved him. Huangpu Qingtian felt the same. With how sly he is, what did he plan to remain so calm in front of us? Huangpu Qingtian looked around for clues, but nothing was picked up when he released his soul, and his worry only grew as he bluffing. Lung Wucheng was also frowning. Zhuo Fan was becoming more and more of an enigma, with a mocking smile on his lips. Zhuo Fan sighed. Lung Wucheng sure is something. Able to guess I'll stop by to pay my respects to Ninger before leaving Beast King Mountain. He even had you set up an ambush. Truly a feat only unwanted contriver can pull. What? How can you know everything? Huangpu Qingtian, cried Lung. Wu Cheng's eyes tightened and his aged hand clutched his beard, shaking his head. Zhuo Fan said, I know nothing really, but one thing I do know. Every move we make is part of Lung Wu Cheng's grand design in some way or another. He'd been watching me for too long, and I must say, he knows me better than I do myself. Since nothing I do will escape his plans, why not let nature run its course? Huangpu Qingtian looked hard at him, then sighed as he probed, Are you giving up? No, didn't I tell you already? I came for all your lives. Zhuo Fan's lips broke out into his trademark evil grin, seizing up. The four were totally oblivious to Zhuo Fan's meaning. He knows he can't escape Lung Wucheng's predictions, so why is he playing the winner? Does he have a way to turn it all around? It was easy for Zhuo Fan to guess what was on their minds. Ha ha ha, I have indeed fallen for Lung Wucheng's ploys. But to be fair, Huangpu Qingtian, haven't you fallen for mine as well? With Lung Wucheng in the background, when it comes to you and me, I come out on top. Huangpu Qingtian shuddered, not knowing whether to believe him or not. Is this mere grandstanding a bluff? Lung Wucheng shot to his feet, his face changing color in seconds. His eyes swirled around, his mind fast at work. Then he looked up and cried, Did the punk know he can't escape my plans, so he went on the offensive to lay a trap for eldest young master? But when did he? Lung Wucheng's mind had guessed it, just that he didn't know the specifics, and his face paled. Zhuge Changfeng eyed this unwanted contriver and grinned. Avoid a ready enemy, and only fight when he is weary. The kid sure is sharp. He knows he can't beat you in this mind game, so he chose to accept everything you did to him and fight your eldest young master. Sir Lung, you are not there by your lord. His scheming mind pales in comparison. Zhuo Fan's eyes sure are vicious, ha ha ha. Words failed Lung Wucheng. All he could do was stew in his anger. What did this punk do to Huangpu Qingtian to act so confident before four Radiant stage experts? Not even Zhuge Changfeng could figure it out, least of all him. Is this young pup able to turn the tables? He didn't believe it. He didn't want to believe it. Zhuge Changfeng was looking at the national elemental stone in anticipation. This prime minister wanted to see what godly scheme could he pull off to turn all of it around. Huangpu Qingtian stared hatefully at him. Zhuo Fan stopped lying. I don't believe you. With your weak body, what can your meager attempts possibly do against four Radiant stage experts to reverse this situation? Ha ha ha, you're wrong. To be honest, it's not me who will do it, you will. You will give me victory. In fact, I won the instant you guys entered the Radiant stage. Zhuo Fan snickered. Huangpu Qingtian roared, Cut the bull. You're clearly faking it. I will personally turn you to ash and see you mock me then. Huangpu Qingtian pounced, aiming for Zhuo Fan's head. With how weak Zhuo Fan was, his head would crack like an overripe tomato. Luo Yunchang cried out and turned away. Chu Qingqing was deeply troubled by what was coming, while only Zhuo Fan's smile never faltered. Like the incoming fist wasn't even there when the fist was about to touch him. He made a sign, rumble. For no apparent reason, Huangpu Qingtian found his body stopping dead in its tracks. He couldn't control his body looking up at Zhuo Fan. he found the man's grin spitting on his face. Chapter 326. Zhuo Fan's Deceit. Chapter 326. Zhuo Fan's Deceit. Elite Coder, Eldest Young Master. Yu Yushan and the other two cried out, seeing Huangpu Qingtian frozen in place. Huangpu Qingtian was sweating buckets. I can't move. What are you standing around for? Do something. He knew Zhuo Fan must have done something. Though he didn't know exactly what, never for the life of him did he think it possible for Zhuo Fan, on his deathbed, to be hiding such an eerie trick. The fear of not knowing how he did it only amplified the dread. He was now stuck in place, waiting for the axe to fall. Even as his heart was beating out of his chest, his three allies knew time was of the essence and sprung on Zhuo Fan, as well the three mighty, radiant stage powers slammed into Zhuo Fan. He was forced 2 steps back, but he was not in the least bit panic. Going by the wide grin, stop. Making the same sign, Zhuo Fan mocked, I told you, you already lost. Rumble. Just like Huangpu Qingtian, the three stopped as well. Bug-eyed, they looked at the grinning Zhuo Fan in fear. They couldn't move, as well the viewers cried out in shock and doubt. Zhuge Changfeng and Lung Wucheng were also astounded. What did the punk do to gain control of them? They knew Zhuo Fan had the 4 in the bag. As for when the bag opened and the 4 were shoved in, no one knew. Not even the 2 greatest minds of Tianyu, the most aware of it all, were the victims. Huangpu Qingtian watched Zhuo Fan in shock. What did you do to me? Zhuo Fan only giggled and looked around. Once he had the 4 riled up and the dozen vassals scared out of their minds, he spoke, Eldest Young Master, you are fated to rule. Providence made you king. Can it be that your elders never told you when you were a child not to take candy from a stranger? What did we take? Huangpu Qingtian was stunned for a second, and then it all came crashing down. The pills. Nodding, Zhuo Fan showed the same smile. We have a winner. The very same 8th grade pill, brimming sacred pill. I left a little something inside it, you see. So when you entered the radiant stage, you had already lost. This can't be. Huangpu Qingtian and the other 3 felt a chill crawling up their spines. The pills they got that boosted their power were spiked, that meant they were now affected by its poison. But Huangpu Qingtian got them by coincidence when he ripped out Zhuo Fan's right arm. How could Zhuo Fan give it to us on purpose? Don't tell me. Eyes wide as saucers, they looked upon Zhuo Fan in horror. It was his plan all along? To even rip his own arm. Zhuo Fan knew fully well what went on in those little heads of theirs. Looks like you figured it out. I let Huangpu Qingtian take my right arm on purpose. The crowd was in complete shock. Lung Wucheng's eyes shuddered. Zhuo Fan's scheme ran so deep, so ruthless, that it made even unwanted contriver shiver who'd ever see it coming. He gave up an arm to have Huangpu Qingtian at his mercy. The people looking at the one-armed and frail Zhuo Fan had long lost their sympathy. Even his pale face was warped into that of a demon in the minds of his enemies. This clueless herd of sheep actually dared to surround the wolf. Haha, shocking, ain't it? I knew that I wouldn't be a match for you, so I cooked up a little something and had you all invited for dinner. Victory got to your head and pride lowered your guard. You thought I was breathing my last, that all danger had lifted. Then you took those tampered pills in your greatest moment of weakness. Zhuo Fan ginned maliciously back then. He knew Chu Qingqing and the others were trapped as he rushed to the water exit. On his way, he noticed a cold pond, reminding him of his old plan, since God knew when to use bloodworms on his enemies. So he took advantage of the time Huangpu Qingtian believed his mind was in chaos after falling for their ploy and prepared his own scheme. Seeing Ninger dead truly made him go berserk, going after Huangpu Qingtian for revenge. Killing him himself would have been better, but if he did lose, he had this trick in mind ready to turn it all around. Just in case, like he said, he accepted all of Lung Wucheng's machinations, but not without leaving Huangpu Qingtian with a gift of his own, something Lung Wucheng would never consider. Seeing how everyone was up to their neck deep in his ploy and couldn't make sense of anything, Lung Wucheng always assumed they couldn't spare anything in plotting back. But Zhuo Fan knew he couldn't avoid it, so he accepted it all with open arms, leaving him with the opening needed to plan his own trickery, the one to take the win. Huangpu Qingtian stared at this demon, incarnate horrified. Lung Wucheng was also trembling. He'd been a schemer and a plotter all his life, always achieving his projections. But Zhuo Fan managed to twist it around at the final moment. Then again, when taking into account Zhuo Fan's weird methods, hardly anyone could make feasible projections, but nevertheless, a loss was a loss. Lung Wucheng had to man up and admit he failed at the most crucial moment. All victories leading up to here were for nothing when he botched the final and most crucial battle Zhuge Changfeng taunted. Sir Lung, it seems to me that you messed with not just any monkey, but great sage the equal of heaven, ha ha ha. Lung Wucheng's face twitched as he stewed in his own anger. Huangpu Qingtian was floored. Impossible. If we had never found those pills, your plan would have gone up in smoke and you'd lose your hand for nothing. Those pills clearly had Fang Qiubai's seal. Huangpu Qingtian's stiff face turned to Yan Fu grinning. Zhuo Fan said, "What about the seal?" "Ha ha ha. True. You wouldn't have trusted the vials if you found them without the seals. But what if those seals were somehow removed in front of you, or given the impression that they were?" Yan Fu? Huangpu Qingtian glared in hatred under the bewildered gazes of everyone. Yan Fu stepped behind Zhuo Fan. They just had the shock of their lives. Yan Fu was one of Zhuo Fan's. Luo Yunchang was stunned. Since when did the Luo clan get to him? Hall Lord Yan Bogong's eyes were ready to pop from their sockets. He's on Zhuo Fan's side? Since when? It was common knowledge that Zhuo Fan killed his master. There was no one out there who hated Zhuo Fan's guts more than him. So how? Ignoring the dumbstruck faces, Zhuo Fan mocked. You guessed it, he's with me. I made sure to give him ascending jade way earlier too. If you hadn't found the pills on your own, he was there to make sure you'd correct that little mishap. And to make sure to remove any traces of my meddling, of course. For you guys, someone insignificant like him would fall under your radar. But he ultimately sided with me and got you to fall for it, thus turning all this around. He takes all the credit for your defeat. Zhuo Fan praised Yan Fu. You were marvelous. I won't soon forget it. Thank you, Steward Zhuo. Yan Fu bowed. Yan Bogong's frail heart cracked. How was it that the pride of Peking Hall, their genius alchemists hailed within their house, all ended up at Zhuo Fan's hands? And that was right under their nose, too. He did it so openly before every clan and house in Tianyu that he literally slapped Peking Hall into the ground. Long Jiao and Jian Suifeng sighed in admiration. They discussed it back in Drifting Flower City that Zhuo Fan was unequaled when it came to digging up a party's cornerstones. But seeing it firsthand, they had to take their hat off to him. And he did that with his most hateful enemy. Not even unwanted contriver saw that coming. The spy Zhuo Fan planted or converted was none other than the one who hated him the most. Yan Fu Yan Bongi saw, read before his eyes. Yan Fu, you damn treacherous knave. You actually stooped so low to side with the man who killed your master? You are unworthy to be a Peking Hall disciple. Even less so to walk the earth. Humph. Ever since my master left, it only got worse for me living in Peking Hall. I have nothing to return to. Who cares about being some Peking Hall disciple? Also, squinting, Yan Fu's hate-filled eyes showed a hint of warmth. Unaware, he clutched at his chest. There laid hidden a green jade slip. Chapter 327, Revenge Game. Chapter 327, Revenge Game. Elite Coder. It was the same jade Zhuo Fan gave him when the man answered Huangpu Qingtian's challenge. It had a simple sentence, one that touched his heart. It was something his master had Zhuo Fan give to him. If you find your life in Peking Hall difficult, come with Steward Zhuo to find me. He was certain from the sole trace on the jade slip that it was without a doubt his master's. The familiar feeling was so strong, he barely held back his tears. His master lived in the Luo clan. And by the sound of it, Quite well he recalled what Zhuo Fan told him at the time, that he'd take him to see his master in hell. It was a clear proof of acceptance from that instant. This youth who hated Zhuo Fan's guts switched sides at the drop of the hat. He became Zhuo Fan's spy, feeding him information in secret. Yan Fu's eyes snapped to his clansmen, and he shouted, "Yan Bongi, listen up. From this very moment, I and Pilking Hall are through. I belong to the Luo clan. A failure like you has no right to judge me." Yan Bongi was a keg set to blow, evident from his red face. His chest heaved, yet he couldn't find a word of reply. This son of a bitch finds himself some backing and thinks he can defy me? No matter how big a nerve he had earlier, he still wouldn't curse back. But now, Zhuo Fan was laughing it up at their expense. He praised Yan Fu. Well said. This is the kind of medal all youths of the Luo clan should have. These for maybe in 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, but to me, they aren't worth a goddamn thing. Zhuo Fan's words were lofty and powerful. Looking down on all creation, Yan Fu was excited, chest forward, head bobbing, the pride on his face unmistakable. He took on the same attitude he had when traveling with vicious Pilking inside, he sighed. Following Zhuo Fan is truly out of this world freedom and bliss. All the hatred and bitterness festering in his heart during these years magically went away. No wonder my master got up and dumped Pilking Hall. His attitude sent a shiver down their spines. Scour the world, and one would find the Luo clan Zhuo Fan the only one to ever look at the 7 houses with such loathing. By the looks of it, this clan was growing in power, its future only bright. People began seeing the Luo clan in a different light, but the Luo clan's people had no time to mind others' opinion of them. Looking at the national elemental stone in worry, Zhuo Fan was dominating the show, but seeing how wounded he was. Luo Yunchang couldn't fight back the pain in her heart, seeing the bloody one-armed Zhuo Fan outsiders got the wrong idea seeing the Luo clan so worried. They thought worry came from Zhuo Fan possibly letting emotions override his judgment and that he might do something he would regret. In every esoteric debate that had been held in the past 1,000 years, many people died while the 7 houses held each other in professional courtesy, thus coming out unharmed each time. This time was no exception. They were split into factions with heavy casualties on both sides. Yet even in the most disastrous esoteric debate in history, all those that died were vassals. None from the 7 houses fell. Not one from 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. This seemed to be the house's bottom line, however. If Zhuo Fan were to get impulsive and kill these 4, it would mark the start of the house war. This will make the Luo clan fodder in this war. And nobody from the Luo clan wanted to see that happen, but they were clearly overthinking things. They were blissfully unaware that the Luo clan was loyal to Zhuo Fan to a fault, even if fewer in numbers. They would accept any decision Zhuo Fan made, even bringing doom to the Luo clan, of course. With Zhuo Fan's cunning mind, there was no way he'd let that happen. So Luo clan's people held unshakable trust in Zhuo Fan's every action. Zhuo Fan's decision was Luo clan's decision. What are you gawking at? He's on his deathbed. Attack together, and he will die. Huangpu Qingtian shouted at the rest. The 4 of them took the brimming sacred pill and couldn't control themselves. But their vassals hadn't and could still pose a threat to Zhuo Fan. It was the perfect moment to strike at his most vulnerable. Once he got better, all would be done for. Yu Yushan noticed this as well and shouted along with his allies. They didn't get to move as the dozen bone-tempering cultivators' eyes went blank and they collapsed. Zhuo Fan snickered. I may be wounded, but did you forget? My soul is in the radiant stage. The 4 gasped. They should have known that a sleeping tiger was still a tiger. Since when could ants take the soaring demonic dragon's life? The 4 were wrecked with despair. Huangpu Qingtian threatened. Zhuo Fan, think this through. Killing us will start a war with our houses and the vassal clans. Are you willing to take that chance? Not even the emperor can save you then. War. Yan Fu knew the Luo clan was under the imperial family and Duge Zhantian's protection. And since he had yet to be filled into the Luo clan's true power, he began to worry. Did I enter the Luo clan only to die? Zhuo Fan grinned. Quite true. Killing you will start a war. How scary! But I am never one to write off a revenge. What to do? What to do? Zhuo Fan put on a hypocritical thinking posture. Huangpu Qingtian's group was even more unnerved by his attitude. They hoped the punk would look at the big picture and get scared of what he saw. Sparing them in the meantime, it went double for Huangpu Qingtian. Providence had him king and all that. His life was invaluable. How could he just die? I have it. Zhuo Fan snapped his fingers, earning a jerk from his victims. Since I have to get revenge, but you are none the less valuable and oughtn't be killed, I can only let heaven decide your fate. The four were shocked, but Zhuo Fan's hand made a sign, and the four could move. Though none of them could use their yuan qi, their cultivation was sealed. Huangpu Qingtian groaned as a thumb-sized hole appeared on his chest. The pain almost made him black out as he looked down. He was unbeatable all his life, never even suffering a heavy wound. But this sudden hole exploding from within was heart-rending bam. 3 more groans, and his allies shared his pain. Zhuo Fan, what are you going to do? Huangpu Qingtian gnashed his teeth. If you plan on killing us, stop playing and release us from this torment. Release you? Ha ha ha, did you release Ninger? Zhuo Fan's smile was that of anger. Relax, I said that your fate is in heaven's hand and will give you guys a chance. I am a man of my word. The holes in your chest represent your number. He gestured at the four. The four found Huangpu Qingtian having 1 hole, so he ought to be 1. Yu Yushan had 2, Yan Bongi had 3, and Lin Xianfeng had 4. They looked at each other, bewildered. Zhuo Fan smiled. We will play a game, the Great Escape. I will give you guys 3 days to find the keys and leave this place. Getting back to Dragon Cloud City, your lives will be spared. But if I find you before you leave, terribly sorry, but that's Providence. Now you can't blame me for being short-sighted and not giving you a way out. Zhuo Fan's hand flashed, and the keys to 3 exits appeared. He tossed them into the sky, and they were soon spread all over Beast King Mountain. Yan Fu, make a sealed box for me, holding 4 lots. 3 days later, I will be drawing 1, my target. As for the rest of you lucky fellows, you'd be spared for a while. Since I am a bastion of fairness, I will release a signal before my hunt. Your lives are now in heaven's hands. With a wicked grin, Zhuo Fan waved them off. Come on, off you go. But remember, you better hope I don't find you. The 4 exchanged a glance and bolted in 4 directions. They knew Zhuo Fan was playing with them, but they had no choice in the matter. All they could do was fight. Yan Fu gasped and turned to Zhuo Fan. Steward Zhuo, are you killing them or letting them go? Why go through all this trouble just to kill them? And if you wanted to let them go, humph, how could I ever let them off? Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted, and his mood became deadly. Yan Fu, do you fear death? Yes. Yan Fu nodded. After a pause, Zhuo Fan shook his head. No, you do not fear death, but dying. Ninger was a pure-hearted girl, although she had a smile upon her face at death. I know it was for our sakes. She knew she was going to die, and must have felt a terrible dread. This fear tortured her for 3 days. Zhuo Fan clenched his fists, his eyes bloodshot as he spat. So I will make those sons of bitches know the true meaning of fear every waking moment until they'd wish for death. Yan Fu shuddered and nodded. Zhuo Fan never cared about some big picture, nor intended to let them off. He wanted them to suffer more than Xue Ningxiang did. Yan Fu now understood why he did it, and went into the forest to carve a box out of a tree. Zhuo Fan stayed behind, closed his eyes, and resumed. Healing time passed on, and the 3rd day was soon up. At the dawn of the 4th, Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed open, out for blood by his side. Yan Fu presented the box, obscuring its content. This was the item that would decide the 4's fate. The hunt was on. Chapter 328. Go on Run, One-Legged Dragon. Chapter 328. Go on Run, One-Legged Dragon. Elite Coder. Which one? Which one? I wonder who's the lucky bastard that gets to go first. The suspense is killing me. Sneering, Zhuo Fan snapped his fingers, and a wood piece floated out of the box. A tiny character was etched on it: 4. Oh, it's 4. Zhuo Fan's face split into a wide and very malicious grin. Then he asked, "Remind me again, who was number 4? Yen Fu spoke with reverence. Steward Zhuo. Number 4 is Forest Fleeting Dragon, Lin Xianfeng. Oh, it's that gimp dragon. What rotten luck. Among 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, I seem to recall having already taken my ire on him twice so far. Now Providence has spoken and has placed him first in my path. Ha ha ha! I can't help but wonder, has his crimes earned him such ill fate, or is he just so down on his luck, so cursed, to suffer hell first?" Laughing, Zhuo Fan said, "Whatever in his case, he truly must be ill-fated, ha ha ha." Zhuo Fan pointed at the sky. A flare shot up and exploded into 4 fireworks, bathing the Beast King Mountain in red. The frantic Huangpu Qingtian, scurrying in the forest, looked up at the sound, for fireworks means number 4. Lin Xianfeng is such an unlucky dog. Huangpu Qingtian shook his head. Rejoicing inside, Zhuo Fan was really playing by the rules and wasn't targeting him specifically. Or more likely than not, he'd be after him the first chance he got with Lin Xianfeng playing the first victim. It bought him precious time to find the keys tightening the red crystal in his hand. Huangpu Qingtian took a deep breath and sped up in the search for its pair. He needed yin and yang keys to be home free. He had to work even faster now. Who knew how fast Lin Xianfeng would fall, and who'd be the next poor schmuck to follow? On the off chance it was him, that would mean death. Although he breathed easier for a moment, the anxiety only mounted. Yan Bongyi and Yu Yushan noticed the flare with their nerves stretched taut. This meant Zhuo Fan's death game had started, but they relaxed soon after, seeing Zhuo Fan going after Lin Xianfeng. Their safety was assured, for now, though they also knew that once Lin Xianfeng fell, Zhuo Fan would go after them, and with their cultivation sealed up, Zhuo Fan would pick them like ants, and so their speed mounted, as did their will to live. The pressure had grown on the 3 who lucked out, but the last one was showing quite a different reaction. Hell yeah! I got the wood exit keys. My luck is off the hook. In a particularly glum and dark corner of the forest, Lin Xianfeng clenched the 2 green crystals and danced in joy, even with a number of close to 30,000 people wandering Beast King Mountain's forest for a month now. The wood exit keys were never found, and here he was catching a lucky break. This luck is godlike. All he had to do was get to the wood exit, and he'd be back in the safety of Dragon Cloud City. This would make his survival, by Zhuo Fan's game rules, Providence. Zhuo Fan couldn't touch him. Zhuo Fan may be a very sore loser, but every elder in Dragon Cloud City, along with Duge Zhantian and Feng Qiubai keeping the peace, would make sure to prevent any foul play. He would be safe. Filling his lungs with air, Lin Xianfeng felt the urge to bow before the mighty power of heaven, to offer his gratitude for actually caring for once about his fate. All previous resentments were wiped clean as his luck had finally turned. He was looking at the dawning sky with a smile on his face when a sudden flare exploded into 4 fireworks. The crimson sky reflected perfectly on his equally red face. The heavens are giving me their blessing. Ha ha ha. Lin Xianfeng was still trapped in his fantasy, giggling away. But then his smile froze. How can old heaven get up and burst for no rhyme or reason? That's man-made. With the 4 having their cultivation sealed, it only left Zhuo Fan. Is that the signal starting his death game? The sky had 4 fireworks. Doesn't that paint a target on number 4? Lin Xuanfeng's face twitched, looking rigidly at his chest and the holes in it. There they were in all their bloody glory, for holes bored into him precisely 3 days ago. Fuck, I'm that number 4! The corners of Lin Xuanfeng's mouth sank, and tears threatened to burst out of his eyes. He had a good thing going here, this close to renewing his lease on life. But Providence had a different plan in mind, sending Zhuo Fan on a manhunt for the first target. Him, he plunged from the glorious halls of paradise into the infernal abyss. My luck has turned worse than ever. Old heaven, could you please not tease me? Lin Xuanfeng's heart shuddered, his eyes hot from tears, feeling victimized, not forgetting the fact that he wasn't even included in the plan to kill the lass. That was all Yan Bongi and Yu Yushan's doing, prodded by Huangpu Qingtian from behind. He should be going after those three for revenge. Why? Why is it that the first one that monster is hunting is me? It's so unfair. Lin Xianfeng wailed, asking the heavens with his pitiful eyes. What do I do now? At this very moment, he felt like the most miserable and wretched man in this whole wide world. Never mind the leg Zhuo Fan snapped off of him, or the hand Zhuo Fan disintegrated. Zhuo Fan was now hot on his heels for revenge. Yet, he, the only one innocent in this whole matter, was the first target. Just what magnitude of bad luck was this? Lin Xuanfeng's eyes opened the floodgates, however. He didn't have time to wallow in self-pity. With 2 keys in hand, all he had to do was get to the wood exit, and he'd be the winner. Lin Xianfeng broke into a mad dash. Short of 1 leg, granted, but not slower than in his prime. His title, Forest Fleeting Dragon, was granted for his amazing speed after all, but with a flash of golden light. There came Zhuo Fan popping not 100 yards from the man. Lin Xianfeng, you saw the flare, I assume. Indeed, you're my first victim. Be good and stand still, would you? Isn't it too soon? How did he find me so fast? Lin Xianfeng whipped his head back, and sure enough, Zhuo Fan had a positively killing smile. Bro, can't you cut me some slack? Huangpu Qingtian planned on killing the girl, and the other 2 executed it. I was in the dark when it happened. If you want revenge, go take it out on them. I'm innocent here. Lin Xianfeng hopped away in panic, a sniveling mess as he begged. But the dread only grew and the despair deepened. Smiling, Zhuo Fan looked down on the man, but never got closer. He always stayed within 100 meters. You're right. Among the 4, you can be called innocent. But how is it my fault your number came up? I made this game and will respect its rules. You only have old heaven to blame for your hapless fate. Ha ha ha. Face sinking deeper in sorrow, Lin Xianfeng gave his all in hopping forward, but could never shake Zhuo Fan off. Since it's fate, I can only resign to it. Why must I suffer so? The hunter could collect on his life any time he wanted, but wasn't doing it for his own amusement since death was certain. A quick one was preferred. Lin Xianfeng sighed and slowed down. Zhuo Fan knew what he was thinking from 100 meters away. But you are also right in being innocent. Here's a thought. I see you have the wood exit keys, so I will make an exception. If you can reach the wood exit and Dragon Cloud City within a day, you win, and I will consider the matter settled. Truly. The resigned Lin Xianfeng found a glimmer of hope, and his speed shot up again. Zhuo Fan's cold tone came from 100 meters away again. I'll be right here behind you. If your time is up and you're still here, I'll make my move. Lin Xianfeng bobbed his head. You said it, so you better not go back on your word. Ha ha ha. I am playing the game by the books, and with no regrets. Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted. Lin Xuanfeng's heart burst with joy, and he put more power in his leg. At some point, sweat poured down him like rain, and his leg, seared with pain after hopping for half a day, he found that he still had a lot of ground left to cover. He ignored the pain and pushed through at full speed. Zhuo Fan was always behind him, coldly staring and sharpening his bloodthirst. Humph. Forest Fleeting Dragon. Did you really think I'll let you live? I only chose the best way to kill you. Not a single person related to Ninger's death will be spared. Zhuo Fan scoffed internally. Chapter 329, The Best Way to Die. Chapter 329, The Best Way to Die. Elite Coder. Lin Xianfeng, half a day has passed. The owner of the cold eyes stalking the beaten-up prey spoke panting. Lin Xianfeng was soaked, but wasn't slowing down even for a second. He only took deep breaths and gained more speed, not stopping for his life. In 10 hours, I'm making a move. Lin Xianfeng, with his sealed cultivation, had been at it for 14 hours. His speed had been at its peak all this time, and his legs shuddered with every hop. The run had been so intense. The sole of his shoe had worn off. He'd been hopping about barefoot through thorns and bushes, and was now leaving a blood trail. He wished nothing more than to take a breather after such a long and intense fleeing, but Zhuo Fan's constant cold reminder from behind came as a rude awakening. Stopping meant dying, his corpse forever pushing up daisies in the middle of the forest. Lin Xuanfeng's sole option was to bear through the pain and run. 8 hours left. The countdown on his life aroused Lin Xianfeng from his rambling run and swaying vision. That's too soon. A glance at the sky would give light into this matter, unless, of course, a certain face was blocking it, scaring the living daylight out of him. You still have time to stargaze? The clock is ticking. Better hurry up, or your head will fall. Zhuo Fan grinned. Lin Xianfeng gasped and forgot about the sky as he sprung forth. Like mad, Zhuo Fan snickered and resumed, following from behind. Like a reaper, his voice descended upon the wretched. 6 hours left! Lin Xuanfeng's eyes were bloodshot in his mad sprint. For hours left! Lin Xianfeng ran with his life on the line, faster than even before he got his cultivation sealed. Only 2 hours. Zhuo Fan's face twisted in a grim smile. Lin Xuanfeng's face fell. He was soaked in sweat, his face red as blood. But his heart was wrecked from this torment. He closed his eyes and ran head first, passing one more bush, just like the thousands before it. Lin Xianfeng saw a green crystal 4 meters tall. The wood exit the audience knew Zhuo Fan, and the four were playing a deadly game of chase. It looked like he was torturing them. Many believed he pulled a game on them as an excuse to come out of this pickle with his face unmarred. Zhuo Fan was the top dog for thousands of miles around, and yet still refrained from setting himself against 4 houses by looking for a reason to let the 4 go. But when Lin Xianfeng came out from the forest, they were shocked. Lin Xianfeng looked nothing like the proud forest fleeting dragon of before. Passing through pointy vegetation barefoot had made pinpoint incisions each time, and now his sole of the foot was stripped of flesh as he crossed the last bush. Everyone heard a resounding crack. His knee snapped from the sheer speed. In an open fracture, anyone moving at such blazing speed would know what that meant. But Zhuo Fan's constant reminder had him scared to death. His mind had been reduced to thinking only about survival, and he was unaware what running for his life at such insane speed would do. Not even when his last leg broke and his bloody face crunched into the ground did Lin Xianfeng care. His eyes showed only madness. Watching the wood exit ahead, he cackled. Ha ha ha, I finally arrived. I can survive. With red eyes and without legs, Lin Xianfeng crawled his way forward as his lips cracked into a smile. Euphoria descended upon his mind. He was going to live. This was the chance. Zhuo Fan gave him the chance to survive. Of the 4, he was the only one innocent, so Zhuo Fan gave him a way out. As long as he could grasp it, Lin Xianfeng elbowed his way faster towards his hope. The audience was speechless. Why was he looking so wretched and yet found the time to smile? He looked mangled, battered, and wretched, yet had such a crazed look of happiness. What is going on? Nobody would know that Zhuo Fan had turned Lin Xianfeng like this, that he had etched a demon in his heart. I won. I'm going to live. Lin Xianfeng panted as he crawled before the wood exit. With shaking hands, he placed the keys from his ring into the groves. With exultation, the audience nodded. The guy looked to be coming out of a torture chamber, but he was going home now. As the last key approached the slot, a lazy leg stepped on his hand, and he dropped the crystal. Lin Xianfeng looked in shock to see Zhuo Fan's manic grin. The audience watched the 2 with hearts in their throat. Was Zhuo Fan such a demon to kill him right at the very end? Lin Xuanfeng's face didn't seem to say so. He wasn't shocked, having known this was coming every 2 hours. Why? Blinking his bleary eyes, Lin Xuanfeng's hoarse voice came out, oozing his desperation. I'm here, I won. Zhuo Fan shook his head, peering down on him. Unfortunately, time is up. If only you were a fraction faster, you'd have made it. A shame. SSS. Lin Xianfeng gasped, and his face shuddered, changing from fear to sorrow, to denial and despair. His eyes shrank, and his head slumped. The agony in those eyes was so vivid, anyone could see how hopeless, how dead they were. The people were appalled. A person suddenly appeared. Yen Fu asked Zhuo Fan. Unclear what happened. Steward Zhuo. Zhuo Fan merely gestured at the bloody man. Yen Fu kneeled and felt his neck. Steward Zhuo, he's dead. The people were frightened. Why would a perfectly fine man get up and die? Did they miss Zhuo Fan doing something? Yen Fu asked. He has no mortal wound. Steward Zhuo, how did you do it? Through fear, exhaustion, and despair. Zhuo Fan smiled coldly. Yen Fu was even more puzzled. Is this a joke? Since when can a radiant stage expert die from fear, exhaustion, and anguish? Zhuo Fan said, I sealed his cultivation so he could only draw speed from his body. When I came upon him, we were a ways away from here. Running all the way here would take 3 days at the minimum. But I told him he had 1 day to escape, or I'll kill him. He gave his all and more in running here with me, behind him, reminding of the time. Fear had gnawed at his body, making waste more stamina without even realizing it. When he finally did arrive, hope blossomed. After 3 long days of fear, he saw a ray of hope. His state of mind was already shaken when I came and told him the time was up. Then all that hope turned into anguish, joy into grief, shock into fear. It all happened so fast that these emotions attacked his mind and took his life. That is why I said he was scared to death, but also exhausted to death. Even more so, died from anguish. Zhuo Fan smiled. Yen Fu's heart thumped. He knew Zhuo Fan was vicious, but not that monstrous. He toyed with a man's dignity until the man fell to his death, gulping. Yen Fu probed. Steward Zhuo, did he reach here in 1 day? Zhuo Fan snickered. The kid had quite the potential. He lived up to his title and was quite fast in getting here with 2 hours to spare too. But as I was always behind like a reaper, I scared him and stopped him from checking the time until he even forgot about the real time. So when I said he lost it. Then despair and fear claimed him, ha ha ha. The grand forest, fleeting dragon truly was the fastest. So fast that he ended up breaking his only leg and died from exhaustion. Wasn't it the best way to die? Ha! Zhuo Fan cackled. Yen Fu, and the audience were sweating bullets, and a shiver went down their spines. Demon. Chapter 330, next up. Chapter 330, next up. Elite Coder, bring out the box. Let's see who's the next lucky bastard. Zhuo Fan's condescending smile turned manic. The suspense is killing me. I have to get back in the game. Hi. Zhuo Fan's demonic side was there for all to see, sending shivers and horrors to the faint-hearted people. Thought Zhuo Fan was using an excuse to let them go, for the bigger picture and what not. But they all knew they had grossly overestimated him. Zhuo Fan wanted nothing more than to play a savage game and toy them to death in the process. The hatred boiling in Zhuo Fan had driven him mad for a long time now. His unorthodox method at exacting revenge had few appalled, and the rest horrified. Only those 3 knew of Lin Xuanfeng's true anguish and pain. The rest would be fortunate to seek out suicide than wait for Zhuo Fan to find them shaking their heads. People sighed. Messing with the 7 houses? Fine. Stomping on Regent Estate's toes? Not bad either. But may God have mercy on any who is ignorant enough to incite the wrath of Demon Archon Zhuo Fan. The end wouldn't be pretty, that was for sure. Yen Fu presented the object of interest, and Zhuo Fan smiled. He plunged his hand inside and soon came out with the lucky runner-up. Zhuo Fan looked at the number and smirked. Humph! Enemies meet on a narrow road. So I'll be hunting down this lackey next. Zhuo Fan flipped the wooden piece over toward the wood exit for all to see to none other than Xuanningsheng's killer, Yu Shan. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and he pointed above. Whoosh! A flare rose above the clouds, exploding in a brilliant double firework. Huang Puqingtian and Yen Bongyi checked nervously, then looked at the holes on their chest, and finally relaxed. Thank God it's not me. Though they knew this safety was ephemeral with how soon Zhuo Fan let out the second flare, it went without saying that Lin Xianfeng had bit the dust. with Yu Yushan as the second victim, who was to know how long he'd last before death would loom over them. With nerves stretched tighter than a violin, the weight was mounting the ever-present fear. They could literally feel Zhuo Fan's demon claw squeezing down on their throat, like Zhuo Fan said. Death wasn't terrifying, but dying was agony. Palpable fear was their longtime companion now, Huangpu Qingtian in particular. The guy had been invincible one too many times in his life and had never experienced this side of a battle. Almost having a nervous breakdown, he had reached such a state that any loud noise was treated as Zhuo Fan sending a signal. Doing nothing but pushing him further into the depths of despair right now. He was angry. Providence had made him king. So how could he be such a coward? He had completely ignored the precarious and erratic state his mind was currently in. Zhuo Fan's death game had him running scared, crushing any royal demeanor he ever had. In another corner of the forest, Yu Yushan finally had the keys to the metal exit. His cheering was quite premature and disconcerting, at least when the flare exploded in the sky and fear replaced any trace of joy. Looking down at his own chest, 2 holes were there for all to see. Demon Zhuo Fan was on the hunt for him. Yu Yushan's face fell, his fate suddenly turning on him. It was so appalling that his mind exploded in quite the colorful curses. That damn rotten Lin Xianfeng. Wasn't he praised for speed? Why did he let himself get caught so fast? Did he give up? Couldn't you hang on for at least a few days longer and let your brothers reach safety? Humph, a gimp is a gimp, alive or dead. Not a single damn use. Yu Yushan cursed at the dead, but the top priority was still getting out of here and out of Zhuo Fan's range, as luck would have it. He was a short way off the metal exit. He only had to reach it, and he'd wallow in safety. Yu Yushan set into a sprint, thinking he still had some time before Zhuo Fan got to him. Yu Yushan dashed like a maniac, and the fact that Zhuo Fan hadn't shown himself yet eased some of his tense muscles. His guess had been spot on. Zhuo Fan would need time to get to him, but as we all know, appearances can be deceiving. The golden exit shined its glow before him, like the goddess of victory opening her arms to welcome him. But then his eyes shrank and his body froze in place. What awaited him were 2 very familiar figures, Yan Fu, the snitch, and Zhuo Fan, the demon. The viewer sighed. Oh, you poor schmuck. These 2 have been waiting for you for ages, and you just had to walk right into their trap. Zhuo Fan looked at the sky and then at the dumbstruck Yu Yushan. You came? I've been waiting here for an hour now. What are you doing here? How did you know I was coming here? And more importantly, did you come here to stop me? Yu Yushan's mind was going a mile a minute. Not knowing what to do, he just couldn't tell if Zhuo Fan was now a master diviner or not. How did he get here so fast moments after dealing with Lin Xianfeng? As if a mind reader, Zhuo Fan's cold smile came in response to his thoughts. Yu Yushan, you are Ninger's executioner. Now then, what's the best way to go about killing you? Gulping, Yu Yushan watched Zhuo Fan inch closer towards him. His legs were shaking like noodles, and he soon collapsed in fear. He started bawling on his knees for mercy. Brother, let me go. I am a mere underling. Lung Wucheng is the one who planned to kill her. Huangpu Qingtian was the director, and I was merely following orders. Take your revenge on them. I was just a lackey, mere nobody. Please let me go. TCH, what's 6 dragons and 1 phoenix? Aren't they all sniveling cowards when death looms? Yan Fu was milking his dread for all he was worth. Zhuo Fan's follower felt no little satisfaction seeing the grand 6 dragons and 1 phoenix treated with such derision on the viewer's side. Everyone sported disgust at Yu Yushan's character Valley. Lord Yuanshan's face was dark and broody. Yu Yushan was a dragon, which in turn represented the image of Hell Valley, even with his cultivation sealed. Meeting Zhuo Fan would merely end up in death. But instead, he opted for the coward's way out, bawling on his knees for his miserable life, while also shaming Hell Valley completely. The 7 houses of Tianyu were seen as lofty existences, revered and feared. But now, That respect is long gone. Even the great disciples of their houses were merely men in the end. They fear the strong and death, just like the next bloke. Even our clans have a few intrepid characters among us. In this aspect, at least, we are stronger than the houses. The 7 houses were seen as gods in the Tianyu Empire, but taking them down from their cozy throne would make all the reverence vanish. Fang Qiubai and Dugujantian nodded with a smile the way they saw it. Zhuo Fan was practically issuing a death sentence to the houses. At the very least, the vassals the 7 houses enjoyed seeing fighting over their attention. With Thin out, it was just another blow at their name, what the emperor only dreamt of achieving. Who'd have thought it would come to fruition at the hands of Zhuo Fan? The 7 houses' image was almost ruined. The emperor would laugh for days if he knew. Long Xingyun and Xia Tianshang sighed at their fortune, the fortune of sticking with Zhuo Fan. Otherwise, they would have been standing in Yu Yushan's place by now. Losing their life was nothing compared to losing their house's image. Zhuo Fan was a demon archon, an incontestable existence. It was far better to join him than suffer his wrath. Long Xingyan looked at Long Yaifi in respect. The old man knows his stuff to see the diamond in the rough. His mind is even sharper to stay close as well. Long Yaifi noticed his son's eyes and held his head high. Xingyun, see that? That's how a house lord should be, to have an eye for talent. Zhuo Fan smirked at the hapless and disgusting thing. Did they also tell you to rob Ninger's essence? Yu Yushan was sweating bullets, not missing a beat in his begging and bowing. They wanted to see her suffer, and all I could do was follow orders. Here, take the girl's essence. Please have it, and let me go. Yu Yushan took a censer from his ring and presented it. Zhuo Fan received it and looked at the pure essence within, feeling the familiar aura. Zhuo Fan's hand shook, his heart was in pain, and his eyes looked ready to burst. But he pushed the sadness back, even with the essence in his hand. His towering rage blew, like a volcano. Yu Yushan, since you took it, then you must know how long the body can last before it must be returned. 24 hours, Yu Yushan trembled, his voice faltering under Zhuo Fan's rage squinting. Zhuo Fan barked, You know it's useless now, yet you still dare to give it to me? I should smash you to death with it. Zhuo Fan was about to do just that. Yu Yushan held his head in fear, but as it was Ninger's memento, he couldn't bear to stain her pure essence with this filth. Zhuo Fan put the censer away and smiled. Do you believe taking one's essence to be the most excruciating pain? Ha ha ha. That's because you haven't seen me do it. Chapter 331 Devoured. Chapter 331 Devoured. Elite Coder. When you do it, Yu Yushan shuddered in fear. Zhuo Fan sported his trademark, twisted smile of cruelty. Those words had Yu Yushan scared to death rumble. Yu Yushan found himself paralyzed, and Zhuo Fan walked up to him and showed an icy gourd. Yu Yushan, don't you find it odd how I'm in control of all your actions? How do I know your precise location? Blinking, Yu Yushan was filled with doubt, but couldn't even speak. All he could do was watch Zhuo Fan with a chaotic mind. Ha ha ha, I don't mind telling you my little secret. To be quite honest, none of you are poisoned, but have my demonic creature in you as a parasite. These demonic creatures are linked with me. No matter where you go, or you wish to go, I'll know it all. Zhuo Fan opened the gourd, and a worm wiggled out. Yu Yushan's heart seized in shock. A demonic cultivator had demonic creatures, of course. But even he didn't know of such a devastating demonic creature that could control a radiant stage expert at this moment. He realized that they had Zhuo Fan's parasites within them, and even if they did run, they wouldn't leave Zhuo Fan's control. All of this death game nonsense had been rigged from the start. Zhuo Fan loomed over them like a god, and they were his puppets. Yu Yushan groaned in despair. Funny how they were filled with hope in finding the keys to get out alive, when everything was set from the beginning. Their fate was sealed. Zhuo Fan snickered. There's no point in crying over it. You guys still have hope. I won't be out there looking for my next victim as long as the current one entertains me enough. Make it worth my while. Let me forget about everything, and the others would have enough time to escape. W, what do you mean by that? Yu Yushan had a very bad feeling about this. Zhuo Fan laughed and said, Simple really. I'm ready to have some fun with you. Zhuo Fan flipped the gourd and bloodworms spilled out on Yu Yushan. He was deathly pale but couldn't move, only panicked. Zhuo Fan, what are you doing? Ha ha ha, what indeed? Can't you tell? I'm letting you have a taste of a pain worse than death by essence extraction. Zhuo Fan's eyes showed his savagery. A wail of agony broke the stillness of the forest. Those 1,000 squirming bloodworms burrowed into Yu Yushan's skin. They began feasting on his flesh, and blood started pouring from his body, his face twisted in pain, veins popping, mouth trembling from wanting to bite his tongue, but he was robbed of even that freedom. Zhuo Fan watched the convulsing body with eerie calmness. I fed these 1,000 bloodworms my blood essence, but how could my meager blood be enough to quench their hunger? Fighting over a single drop of blood has turned them vicious. But thanks to you showing up, they can finally have their fill, ha ha ha. And that's not even half of it. They have tiny jaws, but are quite pointy, with a passion for a man's mind. Over the next few days, you ought to feel it, the pain. It's likely 100 times worse than having your essence drawn. The good news is they are quite the slow eaters, and like to keep the taste fresh, you see. So as they work their way deeper, they make sure to keep you from bleeding out. You won't die anytime soon, let me tell you. Just enough for you to enjoy the sweet and blissful pain. Ha ha ha. Just kill me. Yu Yushan gnashed his teeth, roaring like a beast. Zhuo Fan only mocked him. That's not very nice. All the pain you're feeling will help by your eldest young master time. Isn't he your master? Weren't you obeying his orders? What can a meager sacrifice compare to that? Fuck him and kill me already. Then go and kill him too. Why should I suffer for him? Yu Yushan's eyes were popping out of his skull. Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted coldly. Since you don't consider him your master, why did you listen to his order and let Ninger suffer? Humph! Wake up and smell the roses. A man should own up to his mistakes and bear through the consequences. Zhuo Fan smiled and sat down to the side to heal. The wails of agony, music to his ears. Yen Fu shuddered, his back cold as ice. Glancing at the howling figure, then at the calm Zhuo Fan, his awe only grew. Steward Zhuo's revenge isn't to be taken lightly. Not even the insufferable brats from the 7 houses have such capacity for cruelty. This was a good opportunity to see the vicious side of soaring demonic dragon. The viewers listened to the screams with fear in their hearts. Shui clan's 3 generations knew Zhuo Fan was doing it for Ninger, but even they found the cruelty a touch inhumane. They found the murder of their dear Ninger a sorry sight, having offended Zhuo Fan. They actually felt pity for him if the victims themselves would think so of their tormentor. It went without saying about the rest in the minds of everyone out there. A single thought ruled. Never ever mess with this demon archon. Even as time trickled by, Yu Yushan's ravings never stopped a day later. Yu Yushan's skin was gnawed away by the bloodworms, his face unrecognizable. He looked like a dried corpse, red all over, yet without a drop of blood on him. The bloodworms made sure not to spill their drink. While Yu Yushan's screams were relentless on the 2nd day, all of Yu Yushan's tendons were devoured. All that was left was a pile of flesh, having nothing to hold him together. But Yu Yushan's cries kept on coming on the 3rd day. Yu Yushan's flesh was next. Even if he wanted to wail now, he couldn't. Wailing for 2 days straight had turned him mute. Then came the 4th day, and the bloodworms went to work on his bones. Finally, on the 9th day, Yu Yushan was picked almost completely clean. Whether intentional or not, the bloodworms left behind his vital organs intact. As if to let him see with his own eyes the gory sight that he was, without flesh and bones at this vile and gruesome sight. Yen Fu's stomach flipped and emptied. The viewers were horrified by the torture. Turning away to keep their own sanity, Yu Yushan's eyes glistened, begging Zhuo Fan for death, the only thing he could do. His throat, neck, and tongue had long been devoured. All that was left of him were a few arteries and organs barely keeping him from flatlining. Yet it was a pain worse than death. Zhuo Fan glanced at the sufferer, looked at his pleading face, and said, "Want to die?" Yu Yushan rolled his eyes frantically. With the eyelids gone as well, he was hardly equipped to convey his meaning. Zhuo Fan understood him clearly. Either way, Zhuo Fan said, "Let this be a lesson. You can mess with the king of hell, but never with this steward." Yu Yushan's eyes moved faster to convey that he understood. The viewers watched in shock. Zhuo Fan was speaking more to them than to the dying Yu Yushan. His meaning was crystal clear. See that? Be nice and don't side with that rotten regent estate against me. So what if you're from the 7 houses? Your death will be as brutal as I feel like it. Everyone came to the same sensible decision then and there, to be cautious. While for regent estate's vassals, their minds began working as well, although from a different angle, to never involve themselves with the Luo clan. Even in death, their steward is a god-damned inquisitor. Fong Choubai rejoiced inside. The brat is awesome. He made one guy take the fall and scare the rest from ever getting anywhere near Regent Estate. Huang Pu, Tin Yuan's face sank. He felt it loud and clear, how Zhuo Fan had trampled on the Regent Estate's 1,000-year-long prestige. How could they proclaim themselves rulers over Tianyu if everyone gave them a wide berth? Everyone from the Regent Estate looked at Zhuo Fan with hatred and helplessness. Zhuo Fan signaled the bloodworms to devour the organs. They moved quickly, and Yu Yushan was gone in moments. It was obvious that Zhuo Fan was lying out of his ass when he said that bloodworms were slow eaters. It was only a means to torture Yu Yushan more, but watching himself being eaten quickly spared of any further torment. Yu Yushan's final gaze was that of relief. Yan Fu gasped and rushed with the box over. "Steward Zhuo, please." "No need." Zhuo Fan waved, his eyes savage. "We've wasted too much time here, and the criminals are about to escape." Zhuo Fan released another flare, one firework. Huang Pu Qingtian's number was up. "Just you wait. You are the one who will never ever leave this place alive." Chapter 332, Dragon Eater. Chapter 332, Dragon Eater. Elite Coder. Bang! A blazing light shined above Beast King Mountain, just as Huang Pu Qingtian got out from a bush. He saw a single firework and panicked. The demon has finally set his sights on me. However, with a sly grin, Huang Pu Qingtian's eyes glinted and his hand flickered with 2 red crystals. Too little too late. Huang Pu Qingtian took a deep breath and rushed forward, filled with excitement. He had the fire keys, and even the fire exit was just around the corner. Needing merely 2 hours to reach it from the distance of the flare, he noticed that Zhuo Fan was far away and would need a long time to catch up with how damaged he was, even in this great escape. The true winner shall be me, the rightful king. Ha ha ha! Yu Yushan, well done in keeping the demon occupied for so long. I really have to thank you for helping me live. Huang Pu Qingtian's tone turned colder, although that's providence. Sacrificing yourself for me is the highest form of death. I am a true king for old heaven to pave my way. Ha ha ha. Cackling, Huang Pu Qingtian sped up as the arrogance returned to his face to him. Everything and anything that happened was providence. Zhuo Fan could have easily broken his neck and be done with, but who knew what came over him to turn it all into a death game? Zhuo Fan had already killed 2 of them, leaving the first and third free to roam the forest for quite a long time. This was clearly heaven bestowing its blessings and allowing the rightful king to make a comeback. To rule the world, Huang Pu Qingtian's narcissistic tendencies knew no bounds. Zhuo Fan, I'll let you have this one, but I am the true king. One day you will die by my hand. Humph. Bloodthirst entered his eyes as he ran faster. Whoosh! An hour later, Huang Pu Qingtian flashed out of the high grass and appeared before the crimson crystal exit. With no one else around, Huang Pu Qingtian's face lit up. I knew the punk wouldn't make it. It's my win. The viewers saw him appear as well and were getting nervous. Was Zhuo Fan running late, leaving this guy to win? Everyone thought of it as a darn shame. Not just Drifting Flowers Edifice and allies, but Regent Estate's Many vassals hung their heads in defeat. It had started with Zhuofan having the 4 of their lives at his fingertips. He had insisted on torturing them one at a time, only to finally let the main culprit off the hook. It wasn't out of hate for Huangpu Qingtian, but people felt sorry for Zhuofan. If the prey slipped away from one's fingers, it was the worst feeling anyone could have. People started to send their hearts to Zhuofan. This must be the magnetism of the strong. Lung Wuchang frowned at everyone's reaction. As things stood, it was only a matter of time before Zhuofan would tarnish Regent Estate's entire reputation. The elders from Regent Estate had no clue about this, only rejoicing at seeing their eldest young master almost out of the woods. Huangpu Qingtian was, after all, a renowned genius that not even the Regent Estate could afford to lose. I just need to put the crystals in, and I'm done. Panting, Huangpu Qingtian reached the exit and stabbed the crystals in the groove's hum. A red pillar shot for the skies in a dazzling light show. Huangpu Qingtian stared at the light with a smile. Ha ha ha, Zhuofan, I won! I'm still alive. Regent Estate's elders were excited as well, watching the national elemental stone with red eyes. If only the array wasn't a one-way transfer, they'd be in there dragging him here. Eldest young master, don't show off and hurry already. But a king wasn't a king without a bit of swag and hot air. Since he got out of hell, he had to first regain his rightful appearance, worthy of his position, being unnecessarily pompous, unhurried in the least, especially when one step got him home. Huangpu Qingtian's cocky look made the Regent Estate elders gnash their teeth. Huangpu Qingtian first began with cleaning up his act and straightening his messy hair. He didn't forget to recover his usual haughty look after the exhaustion he had suffered all these days running, to regain his poised nobility and to return home triumphant. Regent Estate elders' faces twitched. They wished nothing more than to give him a beating. Eldest young master, prancing aside, you're still in grave danger. Your life is about to run out, yet you actually have the time to stroke your ego? Humph, you'll only have yourself to blame if you die now. The Regent Estate's elders sighed, not realizing their complaints turned out to be curses. Huangpu Qingtian, having finally recovered a modicum of royal cockiness, strutted towards the fire exit like the true winner of the esoteric debate. Then a thunderous boom came with the fall of lightning. Stop! Huangpu Qingtian's lifted leg twisted and exploded in a mist of blood. His body had yet to pass the veil, and a heart-rending pain stabbed his chest as he collapsed. Huangpu Qingtian didn't need to turn around to know who was behind him, startled. Huangpu Qingtian never would have guessed Zhuofan would reach him so fast when he was already so hurt. Does this mean he was going to die? What about that prancing just now? All that showing off and priming himself made him look like a clown. Huangpu Qingtian gnashed his teeth and kicked with his remaining leg before he hit the ground, aiming for the exit, his life aside. He had to survive and maintain his regal prestige. He could not allow his royal self to be reduced to a laughing stock. He had to become the final winner, the only champion, and receive the people's worship. But a flash of thunder and a black figure slamming into his spine destroyed any hope of reaching the full height of his glory. Instead, he was now a meter into the ground and spitting blood. What made it worse was his finger being a millimeter from victory. So close yet so far, eldest young master. The Regent Estate elders cried, struggling so hard to make one last push, yet failing. Filled Huangpu Qingtian with desperation, stepping on Huangpu Qingtian. Zhuofan grinned and panted. Huangpu Qingtian, I finally caught up. You almost had me worried there, that I would lose my chance. Zhuofan, how did you get here so fast? Huangpu Qingtian turned a hateful glare at the man on his spine, but didn't finish, as it all made sense. Behind Zhuofan was Yen Fu, jumping off of a purple bird and rushing to Zhuofan. Zhuofan snickered. Do you get it now? I lost my wings, but I still have a thunder skylark. With speed as its focus, it was of great help catching up in time. Huangpu Qingtian lamented. How could I forget that Punk still had a spiritual beast? It had gotten to his head that with the punk's meager speed he had enough time to prance a bit and tend to his regal good looks. He would have skipped all that waste of time if he knew and avoided this mess by jumping right in, but no, he just had to show off his flashy side and die, becoming the butt of Tian Yu's joke. Huang Pu Qing Tian wailed some more. Zhuo Fan, kill me then. But I am king decreed by heaven, and I ask that you let me go with dignity. Squinting, Zhuo Fan snorted. Humph, dignity is it? Sure. I'll make sure to pick the most dignified death I can think of. Zhuo Fan leaned and bit his ear off. Huang Pu Qing Tian raved in pain. Zhuo Fan, what are you doing? Me? Humph. Didn't you want the most dignified death? Wish granted. I'll bury you all in my belly, far more respectful than having dirt peppered all over you in a hole somewhere. Zhuo Fan grinned with bloodthirsty eyes that came as a shock to all who heard him. Soaring demonic dragon was planning on eating heaven-shaking dragon, Lord alive. Followed by shivers of fear. That is the cruelest death yet. Chapter 333, Royal Transfer. Chapter 333, Royal Transfer. Elite Coder. Huang Pu Qing Tian was startled at his words and saw Zhuo Fan spit his ear, horrified how come he didn't see Zhuo Fan coming up with such a gruesome death penalty for him. What dignified? I will even lose my rights as a human being. What made it worse was being stripped of his kingly aura, far more gruesome than Lin Xianfeng and Yu Yushan's deaths, that was for sure. Zhuo Fan, why you're a demon. You dare eat me? Huang Pu Qing Tian squinted, appalled grinning. With Huang Pu Qing Tian's blood marring his lips, Zhuo Fan's eyes had a manic glint. Yes, that's exactly right. I was thinking about the best way to torture you, for you to feel the most pain. I've decided this is the perfect end for you. It won't be the most painful. Yu Yushan had it 100 times worse. Nor the most humiliating. Lin Xianfeng has you beat at that. But for the one sentencing Ninger to death, I chose this for you. And do you know why? Ha ha ha. It's the one that brings me the most joy. Devouring you is the only way to ease this raging maelstrom of hatred inside of me. Zhuo Fan bit down again, took off a large chunk from Huang Pu Qing Tian's scruff, making his victim hell to the sky, and tears flowed down his cheeks. Yen Fu shuddered and took 2 discreet steps back. The viewers couldn't look anymore, feeling Bao coming into their throats. Their hearts hammered in their chest, threatening to jump out any second. Zhuo Fan was right. Eating him alive wasn't the most painful, nor the most shameful, but it was the most horrible. Everyone had fear in their eyes. Zhuo Fan's earlier punishments made him look like a demon, but now he was a demon archon. Only Chu Qingqing was without worry, fear, or anxiety, just sadness for Zhuo Fan to have such hatred towards Huang Pu Qing Tian. It showed the pain he was enduring, a pain so great that only through this savage act could he somewhat appease it. Ah! Zhuo Fan grinned. Huang Pu Qing Tian's eyes bulged. His veins popped, his regal face twisted horribly. Zhuo Fan, I am the rightful king appointed by Providence itself. You will receive heavenly punishment for eating me. Huang Pu Qing Tian roared. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Heavenly punishment? I've been going against heaven all this time, so what's there to fear going a bit further? Your so-called providence is a grand illusion you found yourself in. Even if you had heaven's protection, it wouldn't change a thing. I'd still come after you, even if I had to pierce the 9 heavens. Zhuo Fan bit down again, his teeth bloody roar. Incited by Huang Pu Qing Tian's words, a dragon roar sounded and his bloody body let out a golden light. Zhuo Fan was startled. He had the bloodworm seal Huang Pu Qing Tian's cultivation. So why is he releasing such a strong power? The answer came. Soon the golden dragon's soul shot from Huang Pu Qing Tian into the sky before coming back down towards Zhuo Fan Dragon Soul's protection. Zhuo Fan frowned and sighed. He had totally forgotten about Huang Pu Qing Tian's dragon vein soul, coming to save him in dire moments. Lung Wu Chang and Huang Pu Tianyuan snickered at this point. Zhuo Fan was so weak that the dragon vein soul would attack his soul and end him. A dragon image flashed by, and the dragon soul passed through Zhuo Fan. A searing pain struck his head, and he spat blood from how damaged his soul was. Ha ha ha. Zhuofan, you got what was coming for you. If you'd just killed me, none of this would have happened. But you, a lesser man, had to dare eat this king. Now you will die being devoured by the dragon's soul. Huangpu Qingtian cackled. Despite being riddled with bite wounds, he still had the time to laugh. I am the true, rightful king of heaven. I am untouchable, ha ha ha. Fang Qiubai was startled in the most intense moment. The dragon-veined soul actually came out to defend him. Is Huangpu Qingtian truly a son of heaven for the dragon's soul to protect him so much? Zhuofan only grinned. He saw the dragon's soul coming for another pass and said, Humph, a mere earth spirit dares defy this emperor? Die. Then an azure flame flickered from his forehead. The azure flame expanded into a firebird. It took to the skies and shot for the petrified dragon soul. The dragon's soul downright panicked, shuddered, then hightailed it. A bit too late for that, unfortunately. The azure bird flashed before it and clawed at its body. It held the dragon like a meager worm as it doubled back. The dragon's soul only whimpered as the bird flew back to Zhuofan now that got a reaction out of the crowd, or more precisely a lack of reaction. People stared at Zhuofan blankly. Huangpu Qingtian's mind blew away as he couldn't quite find any words to speak. What the hell? That's a dragon-veined soul. How does a blue bird get to dangle it back, just like that? The kid has his own spirit, far stronger than even Huangpu Qingtian's dragon-veined soul. Fang Qiubai shouted the dragon-veined soul was a rarity in the world, the symbol of kings. Who thought it possible, then, that Zhuofan would have something far more deadly? Just who is he? He is from a third-rate clan, so why is he covered with treasures? Zhuge Changfeng stroked his beard, watching Zhuofan with blazing eyes. Only Regent Estate's side was in pain. The stronger Zhuofan was, the bigger the threat. And now that the king symbol was crushed so easily, this feeling only grew stronger. This signified he was the rightful king upon this world. Heaven-approved Regent Estates' resentment billowed, and their hatred grew. Zhuofan, the little demon, no longer just had the potential to be a threat, but a veritable one at their own survival. A monster that defied the heavens. We need to make time and seek the high priest for answers. Where did he come from? How did he make the dragon-veined soul surrender? Huangpu Tianyuan sidelong. Wu Cheng nodded as well. His face deep in ponder. Man proposed and heaven disposed. Lung Wu Cheng had flawless plans, but that only accounted for men. Anything he tried with those decreed by heaven would be rendered null. They would be under Providence's care and would come back from death's door stronger than ever. He never wanted to mess with these freaks for the same reason Huangpu Qingtian qualified as one when he got the dragon soul's approval. All of the Regent Estate, including him, called Huangpu Qingtian as heaven's chosen. That his arrogance was God-given and justified. That belief only grew stronger as the third of the four pillars. Tanyu's high priest gave his vague acknowledgement, but at this very moment, this heaven's chosen was being eaten alive by Zhuofan. Even his guardian, dragon soul, could do nothing to stop it. Is this also by providence that the punk has a kingly disposition? Or is it perhaps coming from somewhere beyond heaven? Lung Wucheng saw Zhuofan as a fearful enigma. Huangpu Qingtian saw his dragon soul coming back in the bird's claws and cried, Zhuofan, who the hell are you? You just called yourself emperor, then. None of your business. Zhuofan mocked. All you need to know is this. Messing with me is the worst mistake of your miserable life. Zhuofan took a bite out of his throat this time. Tearing it off, blood poured, and Huangpu Qingtian's eyes dulled, feeling his life drained from him. With that, the golden energy left his body and entered Zhuofan. The azure bird brought the dragon's soul back, just in time to see the golden energy moving into Zhuofan. It released its claws and shocked. The dragon's soul roared in its newfound freedom, but it didn't attack Zhuofan this time, and instead circled him twice. It watched the golden energy move, then entered Zhuofan's body itself roar. As another dragon roar came, Zhuo Fan didn't seem to feel any change, but then he exploded with light. The azure bird nodded and returned into Zhuo Fan as well. Huangpu Tianyuan, having witnessed this event, cried, "Royal transfer! The world is about to change." Chapter 334 World Changes. Chapter 334 World Changes. Elite Coder, roar. With one more dragon roar, Zhuo Fan glowed golden as he himself let out a roar of his own. Huangpu Qingtian, soaked in his own blood, weak and fading. Watching the blinding golden light, he shouted his frustration and agony in his mind. That is my right! Zhuo Fan, give it back, give it back. Zhuo Fan had bit his throat clean off, and he had no way to speak. He could only express the regret and resentment on his face as he watched his greatest enemy steal his own dragon soul, take his dragon power, and for Providence to make him king instead. How is this possible? How can Providence change? I am Tianyu's rightful ruler. Return my dragon soul. It's not you, not you. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes dimmed, and he finally slumped his head. Losing the last trace of life, only his resentful eyes still spoke of his wretched death. The viewers couldn't care less about Huangpu Qingtian's grievances. They had more important things to mind right now, like watching Zhuo Fan Dragon Veins' dragon soul can be transferred. Does that mean Zhuo Fan is the new king decreed by heaven? Rumble. With a thunderclap, the sky darkened and lightning brewed. The earth shook so hard no one could stand up straight on Beast King Mountain. All spiritual beasts curled up in the safety of their den. Even the dreaded 6th-level spiritual beasts tucked away their heads in fear. Only Zhuo Fan roared at the sky, while the golden light grew in intensity. "Prime Minister, what's happening?" His 2 elders asked. Zhuge Changfeng saw them baffled and sighed with a grave face as he said, "The high priest told me once that when the world shakes, heavy changes are upon us. Tianyu is about to change." The people turned back to the roaring Zhuo Fan with a pensive expression. Is this change related to that man? In Regent Estate's home city, Caged Dragon City, the earth shuddered and the entire city wobbled. High Venerable Huangpu Fenglei woke up from his meditation in shock. He came out of his room and shouted, "Guard, what is going on?" "High Venerable, the dragon vein is rebelling." A profound heaven expert kneeled. Huangpu Fenglei shouted, "Impossible. Regent Estate has defended the dragon vein for 1,000 years and has never rebelled once. One of the 9 dragon souls even came out from the seal, so how can it still rebel? I don't know, but the other 8 are hammering the seal. The shock waves have killed many bone-tempering experts. We can't hold much longer. High Venerable, what do we do?" Huangpu Fenglei frowned and shouted, "Call all Regent Estate's venerables at the seal and suppress the dragon souls. Get the ones in seclusion as well. If they are released, we'll be the first to suffer their wrath." "Understood." The man rushed to obey. Huangpu Fenglei shot for the seal the next second. He just couldn't make sense of why the dragon vein souls would suddenly rebel in a dark alley of Caged Dragon City. Shadows shifted. Elder Yen, how do we get in with Regent Estate on high alert? A charming voice said. She was Lei Yuding, Luo clan's Shadow Corps captain. The one across from her was Vicious Pill King, in his 40s, looking at the strict guard at the gate, just like in the imperial capital. Yen Song sighed. Even with the energy concealing pill to evade the guards, we'll be sitting ducks once we set foot inside with the dozens of venerables and their discerning fields. Slipping in now is impossible. We still have to do it. Zhuo Fan said we will one day go to war with the 7 houses, and an intelligence network is paramount. With the Regent Estate having Lung Wuchang, it is imperative that we get any information as early as possible. Lei Yuding was firm in her decision. Yen Song sighed. He caressed his beard, thinking of a way to achieve it. A sudden boom shook the ground and the sky, and a billowing black cloud launched lightning everywhere in Caged Dragon City. Yen Song's team had no idea what happened. All they saw were men rushing towards a golden light. They were a mix of radiant stage experts and profound heaven experts. Vicious Pill King was speechless, then burst out, "Ha ha ha, it's Providence! Something big must be happening to Regent Estate right now to get all venerables and their profound heaven experts to leave this place. It doesn't get more deserted than this. Lass, follow me." "Great." Lei Yuding perked up and signaled for the other men to follow as they slipped within Regent Estate. Each one of them was carrying a large bag with something squirming inside. In the imperial capital, the emperor was perusing a report, checking the empire situation, when the rumbling started. A black cloud thick as night loomed overhead. Flickering with lightning, the earth was shaking so badly that the ink spilled on the neat parchment. "What's going on?" "Tianyu has been enjoying prosperity for 1,000 years. How can it suddenly shake so much?" The emperor swayed as the reports were rolling on the floor. "This isn't a good sign. Something bad is happening. Guard, send for the high priest." "Report." What came was a guard bowing and presenting a paper. "Your Majesty, the parish had sent someone over and asked me to present this paper to your Majesty. They added that all that concerns your Majesty is in here. If there are still doubts, they cannot help as heaven does not reveal its secrets." Eyes twitching, the emperor said, "Give it here. That old geezer must be a god to pry into heaven's will and foresee this event." "Yes." The guard presented the paper. The emperor took it and frowned as he read. A short poem was written, but he couldn't make sense of it. The world shook at the shake of the earth dragon's tail. Then came the celestial dragon to quell the chaos. As both the celestial and earth dragons exist, the land and rivers shall each call their king. What is this supposed to mean? Does the old foggy only know to talk in riddles? Can't he say anything clearly? The emperor shook his head as he pondered. The land and rivers shall each call their king. Does it mean Tianyu will split and the empire will be in chaos? The emperor's eyes flashed. "And no, I can't let that happen. My Yuan clan won't be divided." "Humph! What land, rivers, and kings? Tianyu will forever remain whole under the Yuan clan." The emperor stared at the billowing thundercloud with intense killing intent. "Not even heaven can stop me." On Beast King Mountain, Zhuo Fan held for 9 days and 9 nights. The shaking soon spread to all of the Tianyu Empire, persisting just as long. It only stopped when Zhuo Fan did the audience, watched in shock, knowing full well that the world had changed and that Zhuo Fan was in the center of it all. Was this the world's way of bestowing royal power? Everyone started seeing Zhuo Fan in a different light, Feng Qiubai especially. He used to care about Zhuo Fan's fate, and now could feel Zhuo Fan, with the dragon's soul and providence by his side, was the greatest threat to Tianyu's imperial family. It left him pulled in 2 directions. Should he snuff him in the cradle or report to his Majesty? Duge Zhantian was in the same situation. He and the Luo clan were practically family. Luo Yinhai was even his 5th godson. He could never raise his hand against the Luo clan steward, but Zhuo Fan was now a threat to the imperial family. A loyal marshal like him couldn't overlook this. The two looked at each other, and sidelong Wu Cheng saw their dilemma and whispered to Huangpu Tianyuan, "Estate Lord, the kid will arrive any second now. You and the other 3 house lords are to kill him swiftly and prevent a calamity." "How can that be?" "Feng Qiubai and Duge Zhantian are radiant stage experts. That's asking for death, attacking right in front of them." Huangpu Tianyuan gasped long. Wu Cheng shook his head. "Estate Lord, relax. They would have done anything to protect Zhuo Fan earlier, but now things have changed. We aren't the only ones who want to see the kid dead. Because of grief, you couldn't hold your hand and killed the kid. Won't you garner everyone's sympathy?" Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes lit up and he saw reason. He nodded with a sinister smile. Chapter 335. Fanatic Protects. Chapter 335. Fanatic Protects. Elite Coder. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan looked at the faint golden glow around himself and smiled, sensing the golden dragon resting in his danton. He had used diamond sand to temper himself, and now he had dragon veins, dragon power, and a king's dragon soul. 3 great treasures for body cultivation combined in one vessel. He simply needed to refine the dragon power and unite with the dragon soul, and his body would soar above even Huangpu Qingtian. Speaking of which, he threw a condescending smile at those resentful eyes. Weren't you calling yourself a rightful king? Decreed by Providence? Humph! I stole everything you had, including your destiny. Suddenly, Zhuo Fan fell silent, and his heart felt uneasy. Is the dragon's soul's shift heaven sent, or a disaster? He felt something in the air had changed. As the dragon's soul now resided within his body, he sensed the other factions' attitudes shift, especially the imperial families then again, which emperor out there would allow the one calling himself rightful king take his throne. Huangpu Qingtian was so egotistical to spout it left and right because the regent estate had his back. For Zhuo Fan to keep his life, the time has come for the Luo clan to show its power. Squinting, Zhuo Fan sighed then. A yellow pillar of light shot into the sky 1,000 miles from him. Yan Fu paled. Yan Bongyi got away. Zhuo Fan glanced and merely shook his head, an ant, nothing more. Yan Fu stammered, but kept his trap shut despite the resentment. What? You have a bone to pick with him? Zhuo Fan saw right through him. Yan Fu only sighed. Zhuo Fan patted his shoulder, his eyes glinting mysteriously. Relax, you are with me now. I will definitely help you deal with it. Yan Fu saw Zhuo Fan's cryptic smile. Yan Bongyi passed through the earth national elemental stone flustered. Gasping and rejoicing for having escaped that living nightmare, Yan Bagong almost broke down, crying from joy, "My family! I'm finally back." It wasn't easy escaping that monster. Yan Bagong saw Pilking, Hall's most prized pupil, return in tears. Of the 6 dragons, Zhuo Fan had reaped 3, making the last survivor to be treated like a treasure. The Pilking Hall rushed to console him and congratulate the safe return of their plague dragon after a short moment of joy. Hall Lord Yan Bagong turned to Zhuo Fan, being reflected on the Fire National Elemental Stone. His face grew dark, and he said, Bongyi, we and Estate Lord Huangpu struck a secret deal. When the punk comes back, we'll attack him together. Stay behind me and try to land the killing blow to wash the shame of betrayal. Let the world know of Pilking Hall's power. Yan Bongyi jerked, but when he saw Zhuo Fan, all he had was deep-rooted fear. Spare me, Hall Lord. I escaped that monster by the skin of my teeth, and now you want me to die again. Yan Bagong knew what he was thinking and got angry. Useless prick. Are you that horrified after the punk gave you a little fright? Humph, relax. It will be us old fellows going first. You only have to go and collect his head and restore our image. This is an easy merit. What? You don't even know how to pick up a head. Yan Bongyi was quite hesitant, but not at the end. Yan Bagong broke out into a smile. That's our Pilking Hall's disciple, ha ha ha. Viewers turned their attention to the Fire National Elemental Stone, waiting for Zhuo Fan and Yan Fu's return. It's time. Zhuo Fan stood before the fire exit, viewers clueless of his meaning, as was Yan Fu. But then he looked at the sky and raised his palm as he muttered. Yan Fu asked, Steward Zhuo, what? Yan Fu, weren't you vexed at letting Yan Bongyi off? Ha ha ha. As a reward for your great service, and your welcome gift in the Luo clan, I, its steward, shall fulfill your cherished wish. Zhuo Fan started to bend one finger at a time as he said, 5 for... Everyone was puzzled, just like Yan Fu 3, too. What is the punk playing at? Yan Bagong looked at his allies. Only Lung Wuchang was in constant pondering, then shouted at Yan Bagong, Hall Lord Yan, get away from the kid! What? Yan Bagong was still out of it. Just then, everyone heard, 1. With the final word, Zhuo Fan made a fist bang. A ringing explosion came out of nowhere as Yan Bongyi didn't even realize as he went boom the devastating power crippled the elders from Pilking Hall. Yan Bongyi had just entered the radiant stage, and his explosion took many elders down with him. Even their vassals came out bloodied. Their casualties were in the hundreds, while the lucky ones who survived didn't get to enjoy their fortune as Yen Bongi's blood landed on them. Eating their flesh and bone alike, everything around Pilking Hall was thrown into chaos, with corpses littering the ground. Pilking Hall instantly lost 8 elders. A crippling blow, Yen Bagong crawled from beneath a pile of corpses and shook at the carnage laid before him. What happened? Why are Pilking Hall's experts almost all dead? Looking at the corpse pinning him down, Yen Bagong panicked as he pushed it away, seeing it was eaten by Yen Bongi's blood, a trait of the poison body. If not for the guy taking the fall for him, he'd be dead right now. The other houses saw the horror and fled from Pilking Hall. No one could understand why the peach-perfect Yen Bongi just popped, but a malicious cackle grated their ears. Hi, hi, hi. Zhuo Yifan held his forehead as he laughed. Noon got the joke, and neither did Yen Fu. Steward Zhuo, what's wrong? Oh, nothing. Only laughing at a bunch of morons. Did they actually think I'd let him live? Yen Fu blinked, to which Zhuo Fan explained. From the start, I made sure to come prepared. The bloodworms are connected to me, so I made sure to arm them. As long as any of those dumbasses left Beast King Mountain, they were to self-destruct in 10 minutes. What a stroke of luck! They always believed they had a way out, and they gave their all in reaching the exit. All of it was just a grand act. A joke of epic proportions, ha ha ha. This entire game was never meant to have a winner. Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted, Yen Fu's heart froze. Going by his words, Yen Bongi became a ticking time bomb the moment he stepped in Dragon Cloud City. He must be in pieces by now. Zhuo Fan grinned, knowing what was going in that head of his. You guessed it, the brat is toast cooked. A Radiant Stage expert's self-destruct ought to have taken many lives with him as well. As for how many he cared to guess, was there even a point? Almost none from Pilking Hall could escape. Yen Bongi was put in the center moments after returning, finding out that the rotten senior brother of his, who always mocked him, was toyed to death by the demon himself. Yen Fu should be happy, but no joy reached his heart for some odd reason. He felt safe around Zhuo Fan. True, but the fear was up to par by comparison. It was unnerving, even when his most hated enemy suffered at the hands of the demon. What he felt instead was a bit of sympathy true to his words. You can mess with the king of hell, but never with this steward. Offending the king of hell, at the worst you'd just die. Offend Steward Zhuo, and you'd find that even death would be a luxury in Dragon Cloud City. Everyone looked at Zhuo Fan, and dread Yen Bongi ran with such zeal, thinking he'd escape. But Zhuo Fan cooked a little something for Pilking Hall and sent him off with a package. This creepy method and insidious plot left the survivors shuddering. Even Lung Wucheng, renowned mind in the empire, looked at the snickering figure in fear. Zhuo Fan had long surpassed Zhuge Changfeng and became his biggest enemy. Well, time to head back. Zhuo Fan returned to his cool demeanor, but his eyes hid a deep and heavy sorrow as he walked towards the red glow. Yen Fu nodded whoosh. The two stepped through and were back. The people treated him like a demon, shaking in fear. Only the girls were happy seeing him alive and went to welcome him. Then it happened. Explosions sounded as 4 men attacked the pair. A great pressure fell on the people, making them fall back in panic. The 4 were none other than Huangpu Tianyuan and his allies. All peak profound Heaven House Lords Fang Qiubai was about to block them, but stayed his hand. After careful consideration, he picked neutrality. Dugu Zhantian watched it all with a cold eye and a lament. Perhaps it's for the best. Only Luo Yinchang and Chu Qingqing were devastated. They wanted to give a helping hand. Zhuo Fan, you'll pay for what you did to my son. Huangpu Tianyuan roared his righteous excuse, punching straight for Zhuo Fan. Yen Fu, behind Zhuo Fan, could barely breathe from the power display. The other 3 house lords unleashed their own might as well. Zhuo Fan, heavily wounded, was besieged by 4 experts on all sides. Escape was not an option. Not that he was worried. With a twisted grin, he said, "Sorry, but you're a little late in getting revenge for Huangpu Qingtian." An explosion followed as a black figure slammed the 4 into the air. Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted, and he smiled. As I live and breathe, elderly. Chapter 336. Fanatic Fights, Sword God. Chapter 336. Fanatic Fights, Sword God. Elite Coder. Boom. The ringing from the boom had yet to stop, forcing the people to cover their ears. The thick dust had Zhuo Fan and Yan Fu obscured within it. Huang Pu Tinyuan's team of 4 finally landed, while coughing blood. The respective house elders surrounded their house lords and checked their wounds, but Huang Pu Tianyuan flicked his sleeve, shooing the elder before him aside. His eyes peered into the dust, and he spat. Who the hell dares to interfere in the regent estate's affairs? Fang Choubai and Duge looked towards the commotion with a frown. They knew who it was, but they were baffled why that man was on Zhuo Fan's side. The rest of the houses watched intently. They were all dying to know at this point. Who had the nerve to save Zhuo Fan from the clutches of regent estate? Once the dust settled somewhat, it revealed an imposing physique. An outstandish old man, poised and his back straight, stood in front of Zhuo Fan. His tyrannical aura bent on crushing everyone in his path hung heavy over everyone's hearts. He was none other than one of the rare top radiant stage experts in Tianyu. Mad Dipper, Li Jingtian. A regent estate elder shouted. Elderly, you are a guest venerable of ours. Where have you been over the past few years? Why are you suddenly siding with that punk? He is the regent estate's greatest enemy. Those words set the crowd reeling. The mystery expert was regent estate's venerable, the living legend, Mad Dipper Li Jingtian. He truly lived up to his name, respected and feared. Both Fang Choubai and Duge were startled as well. Nobody knew of Li Jingtian's strength before, but the vibes he was sending deterred even the mighty divine dragon. Elderly. A cry sounded, making the eyes of everyone land on Luo Yunchang. To everyone's shock, she ran to Li Jingtian's side and patted his chest. Thanks to your timely arrival, Zhuo Fan is safe. Twitching, everyone looked puzzled, the 7 house lords included. What's that Lu Miss doing being so friendly with that savage fiend? Li Jingtian's reaction, however, got a priceless expression out of them all. Ha ha ha. Young miss, relax. Nothing will happen to Steward Zhuo. Not when he has such a cunning nature. Li Jingtian laughed. The people went slack-jawed. Say what? Young miss Steward Zhuo. Tell me it isn't true. How? Why when? The Luo clan is just a third-rate upstart clan. How in the hell did they manage to entice that old freak, Mad Dipper, to become their venerable instead? That makes the Luo clan practically on par with the 7 houses. Ha ha ha, we must be tripping. That Mad Dipper must have been conned into helping them, just like Zhuo Fan did with Duge. There's absolutely no way, not in a million years, for him to be on their side. Then again, seeing how the punk's methods were quite all-encompassing, the kid could practically turn everyone into his backers. Sighing, the crowd's opinion of Zhuo Fan jumped again, and that went for everyone there, from no-name clans to the 7 house lords. Since having a backer and joining them were totally different things, a backer was good as a makeshift safeguard. But by joining the clan wholly, the man could both defend and attack in need. Turning the clan into a force to be reckoned with Zhuo Fan was great, no doubt. But not even he could pull a peak, radiant stage expert to his side, to join a third-rate clan no less. That was simply ludicrous. Long Yaifi and the rest shook their heads. We must be overthinking things. If Li Jingtian was their venerable, then the Luo clan was a match for the 7 houses. A truly cruel and delicious irony how everyone was denying the truth, staring them dead in their faces. Depending on the viewpoint, of course. Elderly, what's the meaning of this? You may be friends with the punk, but clan matters come first. You need to address this with utmost severity. Why are you stopping me from taking revenge for my son? Huang Pu Tianyuan raved. Squinting, Li Jingtian laughed. Ha ha ha, Estate Lord Huang Pu, that's exactly right. I of course take the clan's interests into heavy consideration. That is why, as Luo clan's elder, I cannot allow you to touch one hair of our steward. Dong! A bomb went off in all of their heads. They felt their mind swoon after being smacked with a copper bell right in the noggin. Reeling from shock, they looked at Li Jingtian gobsmacked. The Mad Dipper actually joined the Luo clan, and he's just a friggin' elder. As if. Are you high? Did you just get up and quit the prestigious position of a guest venerable over at Regent Estate to become a mere elder for a third-rate clan? Huangpu Tianyuan stammered all this time. Lung Wuchang twirled his beard and asked, "Elderly, why?" "Humph, isn't it obvious? There was nothing holding me back, no incentive at all. I dumped Regent Estate for the Luo clan because they can give me something you can't." Li Jingtian smiled with pride now. That definitely got a shocking reaction. The grandiose head of houses was dumped over a tiny clan? That had got to be the joke of the century. Hearing it from anyone else, it would earn a couple of laughs. But it came directly from the source. Mad Dipper himself, a peak radiant stage expert, abandoned all those benefits and downshifted to become some elder? Why the hell would he do that if there was nothing in it for him? It begged the question, though, what could the Luo clan hold to make Mad Dipper wipe his hands off of the Regent Estate? All eyes were on Zhuo Fan. Everyone knew that only one man was capable of making the old demon switch camps. He definitely had a hand in this, but even then, getting him to change sides was a godlike move. How did he do it? Long Jiu sighed. I knew the kid is an expert at stealing others' foundations. Fortunately, we are a tight-knit house, or even our experts would have fallen for his bewitching promises. Unaware as he was that Zhuo Fan wouldn't take them even if they were given for free, moving past the standard reaction of shock everyone showed today. Li Jingtian turned to the one-armed Zhuo Fan with a heart-broken expression. Taking him into a bear hug, the man spoke solemnly. "Steward Zhuo, what are your orders?" Zhuo Fan glanced over to the Regent Estate and said, "No one from the Regent Estate leaves this place alive." The cold and insipid tone rang into people's ears. The demon is that cruel to go ahead and wipe out all Regent Estate's elders. Mad Dipper was no fool. Doing so was declaring war with the head of the houses. This was not a game. Zhuo Fan was consumed by his hatred and desire for revenge. With Li Jingtian being Regent Estate's venerable ones, he should still have some lingering feelings left over for his ex-employer. Now that he was a mere elder, he should think about the clan's needs and not follow the demon steward's ramblings. Li Jingtian simply patted his shoulder and turned to Regent Estate's men with a look that promised death and agony. He was hell-bent on murdering anyone to fulfill Zhuo Fan's design. He's nuts. The entire Luo clan is going along with Zhuo Fan's madness. After a quick sigh of lamentation, everyone scampered off. Noon wanted to be here and suffer a quick death when a radiant stage expert went on a murdering spree. Long Yaifi thought about advising against it, but Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian's determined gazes made him falter. All he could do was follow his clansmen in getting away from here. It was then that Li Jingtian kicked it off with a bang. The power and the pressure were that of a mountain coming down on you. Huangpu Tianyuan and his 30-ish elders group gasped, but found even breathing hard. They couldn't even fight back. This was the power of a peak radiant stage expert. These guys were nothing but ants to Li Jingtian, but then a boom announced the approach of a man in white, facing off Li Jingtian with a palm attack. Boom. The world felt like it was falling apart as the two palms collided. All anyone could do was duck their heads and cover their ears. Long Yaifi and the rest of the profound heaven experts were feeling horrible just the same. They covered their ears and stood up a bit. But if the flowing sweat was any indication, they had to be feeling just as powerless as their neighbors if they were to face these palms instead. Tap. The two withdrew 5 steps. Looking up, the one facing Li Jingtian was none other than Jade Flute Divine Sword, Fong Qiubai, cupping his hands. Fong Qiubai spoke. Mad Dipper Li Jingtian, your name precedes you. One of the imperial family's 5 divine dragons. Jade Flute Divine Sword Fong Qiubai. I've long since waited for this. One glance is enough to tell me of your uncommon character. But are you certain you want to go head-to-head with me? Li Jingtian smiled, his eyes exploding with bloodthirst. The martial fanatic in him reared its head, fueling his desire to fight.